Get some help, Alexander Romanov. You look like you didn't even step foot in the gym all camp. Get some help. What is up, everybody? Welcome to Pub Sports Radio and welcome to Stat Diggers for UFC 286. We have Kamaru Usman going against Leon Edwards 3. They are 1-1. We're going to look into see who wins this trilogy. And yeah, pretty good card. 15 fights on the card, so we have a ton to talk about. As always, we are here with Uncle Weezy. Weezy, what's up? Looking forward to the card.
Yeah, man, I'm looking forward to this card. Bootsy's very excited because we finally saw some underdogs have their way, last night. So now he's fired up for this card. He's been waiting for some of these dogs to hit. I've been waiting for some of these dogs to hit. And this is going to be an interesting card. You know, we've got some debuting fighters. We've got some really juiced favorites. So we got to break it down. We got to try to find some angles here so that we can stack cash tickets like flapjacks, because we got 14 fights to break down here and some really interesting stylistic matchups. So I can't wait to chop it up with you, the chat, Pub Sports Radio, ready to rock here tonight.
Yep, absolutely. Looking forward to it. Before we get into the card, guys, if you guys can please leave a like on the video, subscribe here to the channel, Pub Sports Radio. Me and Weezy go live every Sunday, 7:15 p.m. Eastern Time. Weezy, do you want to talk about last night at all? I mean, it was a tough night, but me and you both came out with some profit, which was nice. But yeah, I had some good reads and I had some bad reads. I had a bet on Romanov, which was a pretty terrible read. Obviously, he needs to get some help. I had some Piotr Yan finish props, which Marab put on quite the performance. But I had a lot of my night came down to the Ryan Spann Krylov under. I had the fight won't start round 2. I had the under 1.5, and then I had the fight won't start round 3. So that was big. I had the Davy Grant wins inside the distance, a plus 210. Davy Grant pulling a rabbit out of his hat with less than a minute. That was big. What else did I have? I had the Alexander Romanov fight doesn't get the decision. It was my biggest bet. Got it at like minus 165. I placed that bet after Romanov showed up on the scales looking just horrendous. And I would have never bet Romanov had I known he was not going to train for this fight. So that kind of sucked. But overall, it was a winning night, about 1.5 units. I'll take it on a night like that. That card was pretty challenging in my opinion. But yeah, Weezy, you did even better. Talk about your night a little bit.
Yeah, well, let's start with the rough call, which was the Alexander Romanov read. Yikes, you know, I mean, he didn't look good at that weigh-in, and the bet had been in for a long period of time already. And yeah. I mean, somebody was like, did you see Romanov at the weigh-ins? I'm like, well, how bad could it have been? And then I saw it. I was like, yee, man, I guess it was bad. Maybe that was why we were getting him at such a discount in comparison to the price we paid for him the last fight, you know, well, not we, but, you know, some people did. But yeah, so I had 2.5 units on the Romanov money line. So that really hurt me. But I had a max bet on Carl Williams, 5 units at minus 200. That obviously cashed. He looked really good. And I also had a 1-unit parlay on the money lines of Bruno Silva and Carl Williams, which hit at plus 125. And I also had a half unit on Jonathan Martinez to win by decision. Very close fight. I scored it for Said Nurmagomedov. I frankly, I thought he kind of cleanly won 2 out of the 3 rounds there. We haven't seen, clinch control time be rewarded recently, but we saw it be rewarded there. So it was nice to be on the right side of a close judge's decision in which I clearly felt it went for Said, and caught the Martinez bet. So I was really happy to catch that one, up 3.25 units. If Romanov would have won, my word, it would have been like almost an 8-unit night for me. So, I mean, I kind of knew that he was going to shit the bed because I'm like, it never goes that well, you know, but we still had a good time. It was a fun time watching those fights. Merab Dvalishvili showed himself to just be like an absolute 5-round nightmare. My God, his conditioning is ridiculous. When was the last time you saw over 40 takedowns attempted in a fight? My word, the kind of conditioning that you have to do that. And then as well, on a more serious note, Brady, I mean, look, some people out there need help and they're not willing to ask for it, right? And I think it's, if you want to be somebody's friend, if you really want to care about somebody, love somebody, you need to get them help when they need help. We got to have a talk about Keith Peterson, Brady.
I thought you were going to say something about JJ Aldrich.
Oh no, I mean, well, JJ Aldrich had a rough day, that broke my greasy foreleg, or the very first leg was JJ Aldrich by decision. I had to go out and run a couple errands. I came back, I was like, are you kidding me? She lost to Ariane Lipski. But yeah, Keith Peterson had some problems. What happened there at the end of the Davy Grant fight,
Hey, he had a Davy Grant inside the distance bet, I think. He had to have. That was bad.
But either that or he could have been drunk again. He could have just been flat out drunk again. I think he needs help. And we've got to figure out a way to get this man some help, because clearly Keith Peterson's not willing to ask for help right now, but he clearly needs it. And you, me, Pub Sports Radio, our audience, our loyal audience, we've got to put our heads together. We got to have a talk about Keith Peterson and figure out the best way for this man to get some help.
Yeah, I heard there was a rumor he was hanging out at Fat Tuesdays. He got one of those yard-long margaritas, frozen margaritas, with a couple extra shots. I think he took one of those down prior to the card. So, yeah, he's probably feeling that around the time of the Grant fight for sure. But, yeah, Keith Peter, I got to thank him, though, because I needed that Grant inside the distance, but that should have not cashed at all. Rafael Sunsao should have cleanly won that fight 29-28 on 2 of the 3 judges' scorecards. I mean, that was a bad call.
Yeah. Whatever. This is what are you going to do? I mean, this is the sport we bet on. I mean, it's unpredictable at times. Crazy things happen. I mean, JJ Aldrich was a huge favorite, and Lipski looked like she was fighting Mandy Bohm in there. Yeah, I mean, it was that clean of a victory. So very, very strange things happen. We've got to put in the work. We got to do the tape study. We got to lay out these numbers for our folks here on Stat Diggers and see if we can find those angles so that we can stack cash tickets like flapjacks like we did last night. Let's keep this rolling, man. Let's make some money this week.
Let's keep it rolling, Weezy. All right. Do want to shout out the chat real quick. We do appreciate you guys hanging out every Sunday with us. We got Propaholic in the chat. We got Justin. We got my buddy Sean V. We got into a little scuffle last night. We got Lou Betcha in the chat. We got Thomas in the chat. We got Tim, Oli One Dream. We got Tony, Victor, Addicted to Combat. Patrick, what is up? We got Alan, Jason. What is up, everybody? Thank you for hanging out. Please hit the like button. Chasing big hits in there as well. Glenbot, I see you in there as well. What is up, everybody? All right, let's move on. Michael thinks Keith Peterson did nothing wrong.
Oh, no. I mean, like, the thing that I didn't like there was the fact that he took the point.
Oh, yes.
Remember, he took the point while Assunção had top position, which is all Assunção wanted. And then he stood them back up after taking the point, which is exactly where Assunção didn't want to be. And as a result of that, guess who lost a prize picks play with a Davy Grant under 62.5 significant strikes, where he wound up finishing with 65 because he got stood back up. And look, maybe Keith Peterson didn't have the worst night last night, but can we sit here and, I mean, like, we could delay the start of the show for a good half an hour talking about shit that Keith Peterson has pulled in the octagon that would lead a lot of people to believe, including you and me, Brady, that this gentleman needs help.
He does. I mean, I'll never get that. Who was it? Clay Guida. The Clay Guida non-stoppage out of my He just killed Clay. It was like a 70-punch combination. He was looking at Keith, stop the fight. Keith was over at the bar getting a couple beers. I don't even know where to be found. I mean, that was bad.
Yeah, there's definitely been some bad plays for. I mean, Peterson there was one fight where he let somebody grab the cage about 37 times and just, don't grab the cage. He just yelled it over and over and over again. Never took a point. It was wild. But yeah, we could talk about Keith Peterson all day, but we got 14 fights to break down.
Yep, and we will start with this fight. We got Veronica Macedo Hardy going against Juliana Miller. We'll start with Miller. She is 26 years old, 5'7" with a 66-inch reach. Hardy, she is 27 years old, 5'4" with a 64-inch reach. Miller is 1 year younger. Miller's going to have a 3-inch height advantage and a 2-inch reach advantage. Juliana Miller is 3-1 in her only 4 professional fights. She made her debut against Brogan Walker Sanchez, won that fight by 3rd round KO in a fight where Keith Peterson was reffing, and he actually did stop the fight. So that's how you know it was a legit stoppage there. Veronica Hardy, Macedo, we have not seen her in a very long time, 2 years, 11 months. The last time we saw her was, I believe it was like an early card. I remember getting up early, somewhat early, watching the fight and just being so disappointed in the fight. I mean, it was a bad fight. Bay Malecki went out there and beat her by decision. And I believe she was a favorite in that matchup as well. She beat Polyana Viana by 1st round sub in like the 1st minute of the fight. She lost to Jillian Robertson by sub, and then she lost to Andrea Lee by decision, and then she got TKO'd by Ashley Evans Smith. And this matchup kind of puzzles me here. Not sure what Macedo's doing in the UFC, but I think they're trying to build up Juliana Miller. I will not be touching this fight. I will not be even think about betting this fight. Just due to the fact that Miller, I think she's making massive improvements, but you know, she's still very young, 26 years old. I still think she is a little bit green, but I think she should have enough here to beat Veronica Macedo, who I think is pretty awful, to be honest, and has not fought in like 3 years. So I like Miller here. Actually, Miller by finish. And if I can get like the under at a solid price, I'll take it because she's relentless. If she can get on top, we have seen Macedo not only submitted, we've seen her TKO'd. If she can get on top, I think she can probably finish Macedo. And Macedo obviously showed good submission ability against, what's her face, Polyana Viana. So I'd be looking at like maybe a plus money under, considering this is a women's flyweight matchup. But outside of that, I will not be touching it. I like Miller, but I do not like this minus 425 price tag. But yeah, I think it's more so, I think there's some hype on Miller here, and I think the fact that Macedo has not fought in a while, and when she did fight, she looks awful. I think that's factored in the price tag here. But laying minus 425 on a 3-1 Juliana Miller is not something I really want to do. Weezy, what are your thoughts on this fight to kick off the card?
Yeah, it's a weird one, like you said, because on one side with Miller, you've got a pure grappler who's young, very new to the game, only 4 professional fights, only 32 and a half minutes of professional cage time, a 3-1 record, but she was in the Ultimate Fighter House, so she had a couple fights in the Ultimate Fighter House, which were exhibition fights. She looked good there. She looked to be making improvements. She was really somebody who had no striking when she went into the house, and she's starting to round out that part of her game a little bit now, but it's going to take time because she's a pure grappler. Her base is grappling, but because she was a specialist coming in, she understands who she is. She's not going to sit there at range willingly with you and try to win minutes at range, point fighting. She's going to just, move forward, pressure, try to get takedowns, and get to the grappling, which is where she wants to be, and frankly, where she does her best work. And then with Veronica Hardy, we haven't seen her, like you said, in almost 3 years at this point, but she's only 27 years old. And when you look at it that way, and you say, here's this 27-year-old who's been away from the sport for 3 years, right? And here's her last 5 opponents: Bay Malecki, Polyana Viana, Jillian Robertson, Andrea Lee, Ashley Evans Smith, okay? She's fighting these girls when she's 22, 23 years old. She's been away, but she's been training. She's been with Dan Hardy the entire time. They train, they work, so what version of Veronica Hardy, is Veronica, the old Veronica Macedo is now Veronica Hardy, and she's 27 years old and on a 3-year break. Have we seen this before, Brady?
We have.
Yeah. And how does it usually work out? It works out like this. You usually see a fighter that's unrecognizable from the last version that you saw.
Sure.
And if that happens, we got one lady here who's actually the better striker in Macedo because Juliana Miller's striking is not good. She's way more experienced than Miller, and she's fought the way better brand of competition. Look at the strength of schedule stats, 1.16, 22 and 19 combined record of the 5 opponents that Veronica has seen at the UFC level. So, the worst bet that you can make over a long timeline, Brady, is big time juiced women's favorites. You would
Really?
just be pulling out. I mean, if you were just only betting minus 300 women's favorites and worse, like minus 300 to minus 1,000, you'd be getting your ass shaved. They drop the ball all the damn time. And here you've got, somebody with really bad striking who's only got 4 professional fights and 33 minutes of professional cage time. And now she's a minus 400 favorite against somebody, who's taken 3 years off, who has fought the better brand of competition and who's the better striker. What could possibly go wrong, right? So yeah, I mean, but am I also going the other way and saying, you know what, I'm willing to take a shot on Veronica Hardy here because of all those narrative reasons? Well, I don't usually get in the habit of betting for narrative reasons, but this line might just keep going. And if it does, and I find some kind of path here for Veronica, well, then maybe I will take a shot on it. But for right now, I kind of feel the same way you do. It feels like a stay away until I can actually maybe, really where the rubber meets the road. Is there a path for Veronica Hardy here? We're going to have to find that out.
Yeah, I mean, good point about the age. I mean, I didn't realize she was only 27. So last time we saw her fight, she was what, 24, 25?
Yeah, 24 years old.
Yeah.
And that was her 5th UFC fight at that point, too. So she's been in there, she knows what it's like to be in there with Andrea Lee and Ashley Evans Smith, who's really a 135er, Jillian Robertson, who's a tough out, So yeah, this is an interesting one. Very interesting from a narrative perspective, especially.
Yeah, it's scary, man. I mean, I researched this fight for way too long today. It was like at least over an hour. Because this line didn't make much sense. And then I watched Macedo. I'm like, oh, that's why she's plus 325. And I watched Miller. I'm like, oh, not laying minus 425. But like I said, I was really, really impressed with Miller's last performance. I think if she can build off of that, I think she could be pretty dang good. I was really impressed with that performance there. Yeah, not minus 425. I'm staying away from that. Would never do anything like that. But maybe like a plus money under is something I'll be considering because Miller is nasty on top. And Macedo has had that big layoff. Yeah, so I'm curious to see where that's at, but no props yet on a big pay-per-view.
Yeah, violence is a great look there, Brady, because, I mean, you just cannot ignore that performance against Brogan Walker-Sanchez by Miller. Oh, no. She absolutely destroyed her from pillar to post, finished her, and Brogan was way better striker. Brogan was way more experienced. Brogan had fought the way better brand of competition, and Miller went through her like a hot knife through butter. Seriously impressive performance there from Juliana Miller. So I'm a big fan of hers.
Absolutely. Curious to see how this one plays out. Really good fight, actually. I'm actually looking forward to this fight from a fan perspective. Like, I think this is going to be a very fun one.
Absolutely, man. There's no doubt about it.
All right, let's keep moving on then, Weezy. We have another really good fight. Ludovic Klein going against Jai Herbert. We'll start with Klein here. He's 28 years old, 5'7", with a 72-inch reach. Jai Herbert, 34 years old, 6'1", with a 77-inch reach. Klein, 6 years younger. Klein is going to be at a pretty big height disadvantage of 6 inches and then a 5-inch reach disadvantage. So yeah, Jai Herbert, the much bigger fighter here. Jai Herbert is 2-3 in his last 5 fights. Had a knockout loss to Francisco Trinaldo. Had a submission loss to Renato Moicano, a knockout win against Kama Worthy, a knockout loss against Elia Taparia, and then a decision win against Kyle Nelson. As far as Ludovic Klein, he is 3-2 in his last 5 fights, made his debut against Shane Young, won that fight by first-round knockout, lost a decision to Michael Trezano, lost by submission to Nate Landwehr, won by decision against Devontae Smith and Mason Jones, pulled off a pretty big upset against Mason Jones. Yeah, so I had a lot of hope for Ludovic Klein coming into the UFC. He made his debut. He looked really good, but then kind of fell on some hard times against Michael Trezano, lost as a favorite, and then he lost as a favorite as well against Nate Landwehr, but was able to bounce back with nice wins against Jones, and that Jones win was very, very good, as I do rate Jones pretty highly, even though I think he got cut, which is crazy, but yeah, I really like Ludovic Klein. He can mix in some takedowns here. He's very dangerous on the feet. Both guys very dangerous on the feet. But I think the big difference here is the fact that Jai Herbert is not durable. He gets hurt a lot. I really question the chin, and I really question the striking defense of both guys a little bit, but especially Jai Herbert. 42% striking defense no good. I mean, this guy's super hittable. I also don't like the takedown defense of Jai Herbert, currently sitting at 55%. So I think Ludovic Klein can mix in takedowns, but I kind of lean towards Ludovic Klein getting the knockout here. Jai Herbert's a good fighter, though. I think he's a really good striker. I love the volume. I love the power that he brings to the table, but I don't like the defense. I don't like the chin. But yeah, the odds on this one are kind of close. Looks like Ludovic Klein's slight favorite. I do lean towards him, but yeah, should be another fun fight here at Weezy early in the card.
Absolutely fun fight, no doubt about it. So you got Herbert, who's much taller, much longer, 5'7" versus 6'1" here, and then a 77-inch reach versus a 72-inch reach, and it's orthodox versus southpaw. So Ludovic Klein, he's going to have that body kick open to the liver, and his, and both of these guys' power weapons are going to be open for business. And then you add to that fact that Ludovic Klein has an 85% finish rate almost as a pro, that Jai Herbert has an 83% finish rate as a pro, and that in these guys' 8 combined professional losses, 7 of them inside the distance. And then you've got Jai Herbert, who's got that length advantage and that sweet power on the feet. But Ludovic Klein's got those beautiful head kicks. And then Ludovic's he's an equal opportunity finisher. Now, 85% finish rate for Ludovic. So that means 16 of those 19 wins are inside the distance, 8 by knockout, 8 by submission. So this guy's got more ways to skin a cat, than one. And Herbert is really just strictly a knockout threat, but he's got a ton of power on the feet, and he's landed 3 knockdowns in only 5 UFC fights. So we've got some serious power numbers here for Jai Herbert. When we look at the distance striking statistics, we see a couple of differences here. Jai Herbert throws a lot more volume than his opponents do. He's throwing 12.5, while his opponents are throwing like 8.3. So good volume from Jai Herbert, while on the other side, Klein throws about 1 distance strike per minute at distance less than his opponents do. Both of these guys are landing more than their opponents do, but it's Ludovic who's a lot more accurate, and Ludovic who's more defensively responsible, and Ludovic who's never been knocked down, while Jai Herbert has been knocked down. And then you go over to the grappling stats, and like you mentioned, right, Ludovic will mix in the takedowns, but Jai Herbert doesn't. That's not his game. Jai Herbert's a distance striker with power. He's smooth. He's long. He uses his length well. And when he plants his feet and throws, his opponent is in trouble. But Ludovic is also very good on the feet, but he's going to have to pressure here. He's going to have to pressure, get Jai Herbert on his back feet and not allow him to be able to use that length in order to keep Klein at a distance where Jai can hit him, but Klein can't hit Jai. So if Ludovic pressures, that takes care of that reach advantage that Jai Herbert has. And if Ludovic mixes in the wrestling, you're talking about a guy in Jai Herbert who's giving up 37% control time to his opponents. Jai, even though he's a striker, has only been successful keeping his fights at striking distance 41.5% of the time. So that's not very good. But he's kind of efficient on the ground in that Jai Herbert has no takedowns and he's given up 8, but he still has managed 21% control time while only giving up 37% control time. So yeah, he's winning about 36.5% of the control time positions that he's in, Jai Herbert, while Ludovic Klein is winning almost 75% of the control time positions that he's in, and he's showing 87.5% takedown defenses, Klein, while Herbert only shows about 55% takedown defense. So Klein more likely to try takedowns, Jai Herbert bad takedown defense, Ludovic Klein out-controlling his opponents at a 2.77 to 1 ratio. So if he pressures on the feet, he could be dangerous on the feet. And if he mixes in that wrestling, he can win minutes on the ground. And he's also a submission threat down there. And guess what? We've seen Jai Herbert submitted once in 4 losses and knocked out 3 times. So, either way, I think that this is a great violence spot. And I like Ludovic Klein having more ways to win this fight than Jai Herbert does. And also Ludovic Klein has been more durable. So definitely like the Klein side here.
Yep, I do lean Klein myself, and I do lean Violence. I love the fact that they've been finished in like 7 of 8 losses, and both guys very good finishers as well. But combined like 83.5% finish rate for both. So yeah, I like Violence. Maybe like under 2.5 could be something to look at. No odds out on that though. But we do have Klein sitting at -170. Opened up -130. Would have loved that -130 there. Jai Herbert opened up +110, currently +145. Seems about right to me. Any love for the money line on the Klein side?
Yeah, I see why the money's coming in there, but yeah, -170 you said?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's feels about right. That feels about where it should be. But you know, Herbert's absolutely live for a knockout against anybody. Dude's
Yeah,
got
he is hard.
serious power in his hands, so you have to be aware of that if you're on the Klein side. But I just think that Klein has so many more ways to win the fight, and I think the line's accurately reflecting that right now.
Yep, agreed. All right, so we have 137 of you in here. If you guys can, please smash the like button, crush the like button, just like Keith Peterson's crushing beers at the bar as we speak. All right, we'll move on to the people's main event.
Yes.
This is a what is this doing on the card? Joanne Wood going against Luana Carolina. We got Joanne Wood, 37 years old, 5'6" with a 65.5 or 65-inch reach. Luana Carolina, 29 years old, 5'6" with a 69-inch reach. We have Luana Carolina, 8 years younger, and she's going to have a 4-inch reach advantage. Joanne Wood, she is 1-4 in her last 5 fights. Sub loss to Maia, decision win against decision loss against Murphy, submission loss to both Santos and Grasso. Luana Carolina, she is 3-2 in her last 5 fights, a decision win against Priscilla Cachoeira, a submission loss against Ariana Lipsky, a decision win against Poliana Botelho, Lupita Godinez, and then a knockout loss to Molly McCann. Weezy, if anybody bets on this fight, they should probably end up in jail. I mean, yes, Joanne Calderwood should win this fight.
Yes.
She should win this fight all day, every day. It shouldn't even be close. But what scares me, Weezy, I don't feel like Joanne Wood wants to be in there. It doesn't look like she wants to be in there nowadays. She's now 37 years old. That scares me. And she looks off lately, her last couple of fights. But they were against Grasso, Santos, Murphy. That Murphy is kind of inexcusable, but Jennifer Maia sub loss, we can forgive that. But still, it just looks like she does not want to be there. I think this might be her last fight. I think she's trying to go out there, get a win, put her gloves down, and leave the sport. I could have sworn she was going to retire maybe after the Santos fight. And I was kind of shocked she didn't retire after the Grasso fight. So I'm almost certain that this is probably going to be her last fight. And as we know, Weezy, betting on retiring fighters is not always the best idea. And I will not be laying chalk on Joanne Wood. I have to pick her, though, because she is the better fighter by a mile. It's not even close. Luana Carolina, she's attempted 0 takedowns. This fight is going to be on the feet. And when it's on the feet, yes, Carolina is going to have the reach advantage, but it's going to be Joanne Wood, who in theory should be the much better striker, more tools on the feet, much more volume. So yes, it's Wood, but I mean, laying -200 on Joanne Wood, like what could go wrong? But it's a big pass for me, and I don't know. I'm glad they took it off the main card. It was on the main card for some reason. I'm glad it's down here on the prelims now. It's a pretty terrible fight. But yeah, give me Wood for the win, but no interest from a betting perspective.
Yeah, I mean, if this was on the main card, it would have been such a middle finger to the entire UFC community, just like, hey, we're going to put this on the main card and there's nothing you could do to stop us. But yeah, this is now where it belongs here on the prelims. And you broke it down perfectly, dude. Luana Carolina, I mean, should not be able to win this fight if Joanne Wood wants to be there, if she's trained, if she's ready to go, because I was telling you that my sources had told me that Joanne Wood was submitted by her seatbelt, not just less than 1 month ago. This happened, and somebody got a picture of it. It got sent to me. I told them that I would not release it to the public. But yeah, I mean, you see her tapping to the seatbelt, because it had gotten locked in at a weird angle, and she was just completely helpless against that. But Luana Carolina has 5 UFC fights, 58 minutes of cage time, and has attempted 0 takedowns, So I just don't see. And Joanne Wood might take this fight to the ground. She is going to be at a 4-inch reach disadvantage here. But Joanne Wood, what she really does do well, Brady, is her volume is legendary. She's constantly working in there. 19.53 distance strike attempts per minute per minute at distance. So that removes the clinch and the ground strikes and all the control time from the equation, and it just strips out the distance striking numbers. And you look at the significant strike differential is 3.39 per minute. She's outlanding her opponents by 3.39 distance strikes per minute, and she's outthrowing them by almost 6 attempts per minute. So she's just drowning her opponents in volume. And in addition to that, she does mix in takedowns. She's 16 of her 29 on takedowns, 55%. She outcontrols her opponents by just a little bit, 21% to 20%. So she spends a decent amount of time at distance, 58.73% of the time, a little bit more than Luana Carolina spends there. And Carolina throws a little more volume than her opponents. She's probably a little more powerful than Joanne Wood at this point in her career, and she's 8 years younger. So if you're looking at that Joanne Wood side, which I think, like, if you're looking at like strength of schedule and you're looking at distance striking acumen and you're looking at, okay, where is Joanne Wood worst? Okay, she's worst on the ground where she's going to get submitted by basically anybody that's ever put on a gi. So, but when her opponent has attempted 0 takedowns, and if Joanne Wood doesn't want to be on the ground, then she doesn't have to be, because she's not going to have to even worry about Luana Carolina shooting a takedown, because Luana Carolina is a striker too. So, but you have to worry about the fact that Luana's 8 years younger, that she wants to be there. She needs this win, you know? And then not only that, that Luana's getting the fight that she wants, and she's got a 4-inch reach advantage here. So it's going to be a striker versus striker matchup. And like you said, I mean, we don't know if Joanne's even done. We don't know if this is her last fight, if she's trying to retire here. But she's fought the better brand of competition. She's going to throw more volume. She's going to land more volume. And the fight's not going to the ground unless Joanne wants it there. And if she's smart about just mixing in takedowns in the last minute of the round, not long enough maybe for Luana to wrap up a submission, then, you know, she can easily win this fight, win the minutes of the fight. I think this fight definitely goes to decision. I don't really see either one of these ladies getting a finish here. But that's not exactly a hot take.
My hot take is, if I ever laid minus 190 on Joanne Calderwood and she lost this fight, you probably would never hear from me again, Weezy. I would delete everything. That would, I mean, I can never do that. But she should win. It's just how many times we see, you know, fighters just not show up and want to, like, for example, JJ Aldrich looked like she did not want to be there yesterday. What if Joanne Calderwood, this is her last fight? What if she didn't, you know, go as hard as she would have in the past? I don't know. She looks off lately, but she should beat Luana Carolina. Joanne Wood opened up minus 145, currently minus 190. Luana Carolina opened up plus 125, currently plus 165. Money's coming in on Wood, and I expect that to continue, but none of my money will be going on this fight. And then no props as well. Weezy, any thoughts on the money line or anything?
No, man. I mean, like, you summed it up absolutely perfectly. Just think to yourself, however much you might win on the fight, what's the cost if you lose? And then just ask yourself, laying juice on a women's favorite, what could go wrong? Right. So yeah, we're not laying juice on 37-year-old fighters who have lost 4 of their last 5 fights and who actually got submitted by the seatbelt of their own car. And not even somebody else's car. You know, where like you could be like, oh, that was just a little tricky. It's a little bit different than the seatbelt of my car. The seatbelt of Joanne Wood's car.
Was it rear naked choke then, or?
Yeah, I think it was like a half twister too. I think that maybe it could have even switched to an arm bar if it wanted it.
My goodness. Yeah, I mean, that seatbelt, it could be tricky, but in your own car, that should not be happening, Weezy.
Never. It should never happen. My sources tell me that it happened, and I trust my sources.
Gotta trust your sources. Let's move on to an actual fight. We have Jake Hadley going against Malcolm Gordon. We got Jake Hadley, 26 years old, 5'7" with a 70-inch reach. Malcolm Gordon, 32 years old, 5'7" with a 71-inch reach. We have Jake Hadley is going to be younger by 6 years, and is going to have Gordon with a 1-inch reach advantage. Jake Hadley is 4-1 in his last 5 fights. He made his debut as a pretty big favorite against Alon Nascimento, lost that fight pretty cleanly, had that submission win in the second round against Mitch Raposo in a fight where he did miss weight. And then he got a submission win his last time out against Carlos Candelario. Good win there. Malcolm Gordon is 2-3 in his last 5 fights, had that submission loss against Amir Albazi, had a knockout loss against Sumadarji, a decision win against Francisco Figueiredo, a knockout win against Denise Bondar, and then a submission loss to Muhammad Mokaev. Yeah, first look, I thought I would be all over Hadley here, but I do have some slight concerns about Hadley. I think he absolutely wins this fight. It's just the price tag is kind of scaring me. He's around like a minus 400 favorite. I actually don't think Malcolm Gordon is as bad as people think. I actually think he's pretty solid. He's a black belt in BJJ, has really solid wrestling. The problem with Malcolm Gordon is the durability. 6 losses, all 6 of them coming inside the distance. He obviously does not have a chin, and then his submission defense is not great, although he is a black belt. He got submitted by Albazi, and then he did get submitted by Mokaev. But in that Mokaev fight, he actually held his own quite a bit. He had Mokaev in a pretty deep choke at the end of the round. He was either end of the first or second round there. He was able to get some top control against Mokaev as well. So fared pretty decently against Mokaev. Obviously got submitted late third, but still did a lot better than people expected, including me. I thought Mokaev was kind of going to run through him, but that just was not the case. And, Jake Hadley, a concern I have is that Nascimento fight where Nascimento was taking him down and Jake Hadley just had nothing off his back. Like, what happens if Malcolm Gordon takes down Hadley, right? But I do see Hadley winning this fight. I do see Hadley finishing this fight. This is a flyweight fight, so I'm hoping to get a plus money number on like the under, because if it's a Malcolm Gordon fight, you typically want to bet that under. The guy's been finished in all 6 of his losses. He's never lost a decision, and I think that continues here. On the feet, Hadley could knock him out, and then Hadley could obviously submit him as well. So I like Hadley inside the distance. But after looking into it a little bit more, I really don't like the price tag of minus 400. And I think Gordon's getting disrespected just a little bit here. Weezy, what are your thoughts on this fight?
Yeah, it's a fun one. Great flyweight fight here because Gordon's in fun fights. He finishes fights and he gets finished when he loses. So, and then Hadley's got some nice crisp stand up. I was kind of impressed by his stand up because I always think of him more of as a grappler, but he's very comfortable everywhere. And then, like you said, though, you got to remember that Gordon's a bad nail, right? But outside of that, when you watch him strike, like, he's pretty slick, I mean, he looks like, he knows what he's doing out there. And in the grappling, he's really not out of his depth. But the thing is, he wants to be there. So you see there, 9% takedown defense. He's allowing 4.14 takedowns per 15 minutes is Malcolm Gordon, and his fights take place in control time positions almost 75% of the time. So, I mean, I wouldn't take Hadley's striking advantage too much into account here. I think that this is going to be a grappling match. And we've seen Hadley against good grapplers, lose some minutes at points. And Malcolm's going to wrestle a little bit. Malcolm's going to go. I mean, you look at his numbers, 1.66 takedowns per 15 minutes, 0.83 submission attempts per 15 minutes, 1.24 reverses per 15 minutes. And he's there 75% of the time. If Malcolm gets the fight that he wants, I don't think I want to lay that kind of juice on Jake Hadley here. But Hadley is good. And if he wants to keep this fight standing and he's successful doing so, it won't take long before he cracks Malcolm's chin, because Malcolm is just such a bad nail. If Malcolm was durable, if Malcolm had that dog in him, he'd be a damn good prospect. He'd be a problem at 125. But when he gets hit right, he looks for that door and he finds it quick. So, this is going to be a stay away from me, I think, because I respect Malcolm Gordon's all-around game, but it's really hard to put your money on somebody because people talk about this guy fights for your money, and that's not Malcolm Gordon. When things are going his way, when he's getting the fight that he wants, when things are going according to plan, he's really good at doing what he does. He's mean, he's confident, he looks good. But the second things start, going according to plan, it doesn't look like there's a plan B for Malcolm. and then he gives up. So Malcolm doesn't fight for your money, and Jake Hadley's still only 26 years old. He's still a very good prospect. The regional scene tape on Jake is pretty damn good too, and he's faced decent opponents up here at the UFC level. So I think that, you know, two different career trajectories, a lot more power on the Hadley side in the striking, and Hadley's a very competent grappler as well. Whoever tries for takedowns here will get them, and if nobody tries and the air conditioning is just turned up a little bit, that might get the takedown, because 9% takedown defense for Malcolm Gordon, 40% takedown defense for Jake Hadley. Neither one of these guys minds being on the ground, and this is going to be definitely a big-time grappling match. I'm going to be looking on Prize Picks for the Jake Hadley under on significant strikes, because I think that there's a high probability that this fight takes place in the grappling positions, about 75% of the fight, Brady.
Yep, and if not, he could probably knock him out as well. So that under on strike should be something to look at. Yeah, Hadley, big favorite. He opened up minus 250. He was sitting around minus 390, minus 400. Money's actually came in on Gordon as of late, and now Hadley's back up to minus 360. Malcolm Gordon is currently sitting at plus 295. Yeah, can't get there on Hadley. Like I said, I do have some concerns. I think Gordon might be able to get some control time on here. It's just, I think for Gordon to win this fight, he's going to have to not get finished for 15 minutes. It's hard to see that. Gordon's been finished in all 6 of his losses, 4 by KO, 2 by sub. The guy's just not durable in any type of way. So I think Hadley finishes him. But yeah, don't mind a shot on an under depending on the price, and don't mind a shot maybe to get down on the Hadley price tag, maybe like a Hadley inside the distance as well. So that's how I'm kind of attacking it. But in terms of like a parlay piece this week, I don't know if I'd feel comfortable laying about minus 400 on Hadley. But yeah, I think he should win this fight and win it inside the distance. Weezy, any thoughts on any props or any money lines, anything?
Yeah, I mean, if Hadley's minus 400, maybe the best way to get the Hadley price down is just go inside the distance there, just because if it does go the full 15 minutes, it probably means Malcolm's having some success on the ground and in the wrestling, and then maybe it winds up being a close fight. So maybe the best way to get a discount price on a juiced up fighter right now in Jake Hadley on that line at minus 400 is to take the inside the distance shot, seeing as Gordon has been finished in all of his pro losses, and there's 6 of them. So that's a good sample size. You know, last guy I remember was 6 losses all inside the distance was Parker Porter, and he went out there and got starched by a bum in Justin Tafa. So, you know, don't forget that 100% finish rate in a large sample size. You know, guys like Kamaru, guys like Malcolm Gordon, you know, guys like Parker Porter, you know, they're going to find that door when things start not going their way.
You forgot the GOAT, Jason Witt.
Oh, yeah.
Like 9 finished losses now for Jason Witt. Like something crazy.
Need some help, Jason Witt, man.
Oh, my goodness.
He needs a chiniotomy or whatever that is, where you put like some rubber behind there and you just like try to protect that chin somehow.
You need something, man. You need something. All right. We'll keep moving on, though. We have Christian Leroy Duncan, the first of 2 Chris Duncans on the same card, going against Dusko Todorovic. We'll start with Chris Duncan here. He's 27 years old, 6'2", not sure on the reach there. Dusko is 28 years old, 6'1", with a 74-inch reach. We got Dusko 1 year older, 1-inch height disadvantage. Christian Leroy Duncan, he is 5-0 in his last 5 fights, 4 of which coming inside the distance, 3 of those KO, 1 by sub. Dusko Todorovic is 2-3 in his last 5 fights. Had a knockout loss to Punahele Soriano, a decision loss to Gregory Rodriguez, a knockout win against Maki Patolo, a knockout loss against Chidi Njokwani, and then a knockout win against Jordan Wright. Yeah, I think this fight's going to be very exciting, Weezy, for as long as it lasts. What are your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I watched all the tape on Christian Leroy Duncan because I really didn't know who he was. And then I realized I had seen him fight before, because I remember watching his fight against Will Curry. I believe it was the second one that went to decision. Now, Christian, what we don't see on the page here is a 23-fight amateur career, 23 amateur fights where I believe he was 17-6, never was finished. And then when you look at the tape on Christian Leroy Duncan, this guy's fought a lot of grapplers. And the tape really pops when he's striking, right? Really flashy shit. We're talking jump knees, spinning hook kicks, low leg kicks, head like roundhouse kicks and shit like that, like jumping stuff, axe kicks. He's got a crazy arsenal. He's got a huge bag of tricks that he relies on, and he switches stances too, so he can really kind of confuse you and get you guessing as to what's coming next. And then he has been wrestled a lot in his regional scene footage, a lot in the 2 Will Curry fights, a lot in the Justin Moore fight, a lot in the Jati Milan fight. So what the thing about Duncan that he does really well is the conditioning is there. He waits for people to get tired wrestling him, and they will have some success taking him down, but the takedown defense is okay. It tends to get better as the fight goes on. The get-up game is solid, and the grappling game and the grappling defense, it's all there. His tape reminds me a lot of Ian Gary's tape pre-UFC, where we saw on Gary's tape that people were like, fuck this, I am not striking with this dude. I'm going to try to take him down. And we saw Ian struggle with it a little bit, but he always did the right things trying to stop the takedowns. And when that didn't work, he would get back up, and then he would get back to work on his striking, and that's how he would win the fight. And I see a lot of that from Christian Leroy Duncan, and that people just don't want to be on the feet with this kid, so they try to take him down over and over again. And Christian is so used to that game plan that he kind of thrives in making that kind of fight his fight, where he's going to be better conditioned than you. He's going to keep getting up. He's going to tire you out. And then once you're on the feet, he's going to start landing some shit at distance. And once he lands and hurts you, he swarms and he finishes. And Dusko is a guy who, when we've seen him in the UFC level, Brady, we see him do his best work when he's able to grapple. The Daquan Townsend fight, the Maki Patolo fight. He's doing good work when he's the one that's initiating takedowns, getting some ground and pound in, and working his submission game. That's really when he does his best work, because when he's on the feet, he throws about as much volume as his opponents. He lands just a little bit less, and he doesn't show power, but he's shown to be chinny. He's got 0 knockdowns, but he's absorbed 3. He's got a 57% striking defense, which isn't bad, but that chin is up, the hands are down, and he's got the tall man defense. So when somebody does land big against him, it hurts him, and it puts him in a bad spot. Dude's durable, dude's tough as hell, and when things are going his way, he's definitely a dominant fighter, and he's fought the much better brand of competition. Been in there with guys like Enja Kawani and Gregory Rodriguez and Punahele Soriano, but he's losing to that level of competition. And the guys that he's beating, Jordan Wright, Maki Patolo, Teddy Ash, Daquan Townsend, the Dusko Todorovic has 3 UFC wins, Brady, and the combined record of those 3 guys is 4 wins and 14 losses. So he's beating only the lowest level competition guys. And this Christian Leroy Duncan is a serious prospect, in my opinion. Like I said, 23 fight amateur career, really flashy stand-up, good knockout power on the feet, a very serviceable ground game, good submission defense, good takedown defense, good get-up game. And when he gets on top, he's got good ground and pound, and he hunts for submissions in his own right. So I like Christian Leroy Duncan to win this fight. I think he's a lot more of a dynamic fighter at this point than what Dusko Todorovic is. And I think he's a notch above the guys that Dusko is beating. And I just don't see Dusko Todorovic 4 of 18 on takedowns. And if you count his Contender Series fight, he's like 4 of 40 on takedowns. He gets, he out controls his opponents, but he's not good at getting the fights there, and he's bad at stopping takedowns in his own right. So I think Christian's going to get the fight that he wants. I think he's going to keep this in the center of the cage and be the much better striker, and I think he's going to knock out Dusko Todorovic.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, I hate Dusko's strike and defense. It's a serious problem. Hands low, chin up in the air. And you do not want to be hit by this guy. So I do lean towards the knockout as well. We see that Christian Leroy Duncan opened up as a -165 favorite, currently -180. And on best fight odds, they call him Durko Turtorover
Yeah,
for some reason. I don't know why
they've been doing that for like 4
for a
fights
while.
now.
Yeah, it's for a while. I don't know what they're doing there, but Durko Todorova, he is currently +155. Probably another violent spot, maybe a shot on Duncan by knockout. I see him touching the chin as well. Like I said, I don't like you said, I don't see Dusko going out there. I almost called him Durko. I don't see Durko going out there and taking him down. I think this fight's going to take place on the feet. And again, I think that strike defense is a huge liability. So yeah, right there with you on this one.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see Christian Leroy Duncan make his debut because this kid really looks to be a fantastic prospect.
Yeah, for sure. I like it, Weezy. All right. Almost 200 of you in here. If you guys can, be sure to like the video. We do appreciate it. Subscribe here to Pub Sports Radio as well. We always do appreciate you guys hanging out with us on a Sunday here. We're going to keep moving on to a very good fight. We got Lerone Murphy going against Gabriel Santos. We got Lerone Murphy, 31 years old, 5'9", with a 73-inch reach. Gabriel Santos, 26 years old, 5'9", with a 71-inch reach. We got Santos is 5 years younger, and Murphy's going to have a 2-inch reach advantage here. Lerone Murphy is a 4-0 and 1 draw in his last 5 fights. Made his debut against Sabara Tuhugov. That was a draw there. Knocked out Ricardo Ramos. Won a decision against Douglas Silva de Andrade, and then knocked out Makwan Amirkhani in the second round. As far as Gabriel Santos, he is making his debut here. LFA champion, back-to-back knockouts. And yeah, so there was a nice arbitrage opportunity today. A lot of people got on it was wild. Like on DraftKings, they had the Murphy line at -135, and then BetOnline opens Murphy up at -275, which is wild to me. You know, typically BetOnline is one of these sharper books, right? But that line is atrocious. It immediately got hit. Murphy went from -275 to -240 to -206 to -175 to -155, and Murphy's currently sitting at -155 here. Yeah, so I dug pretty deep into this fight because I did have some interest in Murphy at -135. I was planning on playing him there and then probably arbing out, and I did end up arbing out, not at the best price, but I was able to gain like 0.11 units, which is free money, but I'm happy arbing out there. You know, I think Santos is the real deal. He's only 26 years old. And I like this guy. He's very well-rounded. He's really good on the feet. He's very dangerous. His ground game is very good. And he's a guy where I don't know if he wins this fight. But going forward, I think he's somebody to really, really look out for. But this is a tough debut for sure. Although I think Santos has a pretty high ceiling, this is a tough debut. He's making it on short notice. I don't like that. He's flying from Brazil to London. I don't like that. And Lerone Murphy's a really good fighter. We haven't seen Lerone Murphy in a while, though. It's been like over a year since we did see Murphy. And some things that concern me about Murphy, the takedown defense is atrocious, sitting at 36%. He does do a good job at working his way back up, but if Santos gets him down, it could be trouble. And then on the feet, Murphy's the better striker. But man, Santos is a guy that he's willing to eat one to give one. He's a dog. He can get hurt and come back. I think this fight's going to be an all-out war. I think, you know, both these guys are going to have success. I lean towards Murphy eventually knocking out Santos. I think Santos is too hittable. I've seen him hurt before, and Murphy has a lot of power, but I think Santos can absolutely have some success in this matchup. If this was a full fight camp Santos in, you know, say Las Vegas, I might even take the dog shot on him here, but like I said, I think, you know, these circumstances are kind of tough for the guy making his debut on this short notice, going to London. So I'm going to go Murphy by knockout. But yeah, I think the price tag where it is at now is about right. Like, I don't think Murphy should have been -275. Like, Gabriel Santos is a very, very good fighter in my opinion. Weezy, I think this is one of the better fights on the prelims. I think it's going to be a really fun one.
Yeah, it is. And there's just a ton of narrative shit going on with this fight that we have to talk about because, like you mentioned, you got to be real careful about when you take your UFC debut, right? Because when you do it on like a week's notice and then you're flying from Brazil to London, you know, to fight, and then you got to make weight, you're probably cutting weight on the plane even, you know, and it's just a nightmare of a situation to to make your debut in. But you know what? Some people actually thrive in situations like that. Like, we had an Australia card recently where we saw a couple people make short notice debuts, one of them being Francisco Prado versus Jamie Malaki. And he went out there and just had nothing. Prado had nothing. 22-year-old kid making his debut on short notice, less than a week, goes out there and just doesn't even throw a punch. He has nothing for the entire fight. But then there's another one where a kid named Elvis Brenner goes out there and beats a -600 favorite in Zubaira Tukhugov in the exact same situation. So here we've got Santos, who wasn't a Contender Series guy. He's the LFA champion. And now he's taking his debut on short notice, long-ass flight. And is he going to be Elvis Brenner or is he going to be Francisco Prado? You know, so we got to kind of figure that out, right? But guess who Gabriel Santos has beaten?
Brenner.
He beat Elvis Brenner. And that was some of the tape that I saw on Brenner where I was like, yeah, maybe I'm going to stay off of Brenner here against Zuby, you know, just because, like, the guy, you know, not only that, I didn't think that he was ready for Tukhugov, but, you know, he was taking the fight on short notice, flying from Brazil to Australia. There were so many things going against this kid, and he wound up getting the job done. Murphy's a low-volume striker. He's only landing 3.19 distance strikes per minute at distance. Less than 35% striking accuracy at distance. But the guy's got ridiculous power. And when he plants his feet and he throws, he's very, very dangerous. 69% distance defense, too. So even though he's low volume, he does a good job of keeping his distance and using that length, that 73-inch reach, and switching stances in order to hit you while his opponents can't hit him. But the grappling defense is just terrible. I mean, this guy's giving up takedowns every time people shoot on him. 36% takedown defense. He's allowing 4.55 takedowns per 15 minutes. You know, he's out controlling his opponents 32% to 16%.
Weezy. There's something I got to mention about the control time. On the UFC stats, for some reason, on the Tukhugov fight, they actually gave Murphy 10 minutes of control time when it was actually Tukhugov that had 10 minutes of control time. So that's a massive, massive difference.
Okay, see, I think I had caught that error when I was doing manual data entry, but now that I'm doing it from my database, I'm going to have to fix that in the database. Because I was going to say that doesn't make any sense that Laron Murphy's out controlling his opponents, and he's not. So, yeah, but the 65.95%, you know, or I'm sorry, the amount of time that he's spending at in control time positions is 50% of the time. So his fights are there a lot, and that's very dangerous. When you're laying juice on a guy who's giving up that many minutes grappling. I mean, the last fight that we saw was the Amirkhani fight. They're at range for a minute. Amirkhani shoots one takedown, gets it, and he's wearing Amirkhani like a cheap suit for the rest of the round. Amirkhani shoots in on a single leg in the second and walks right into a knee, and the fight's over. But Amirkhani had won every minute of that fight up until that knee landed. And you're going to have to be very careful, because if Gabriel Santos comes in here wrestling and has success, he can just peel away a lot of the minutes of this fight. And as long as he doesn't get caught on the feet by a low volume striker like Murphy, he could win the minutes here and shock the world, because Laron Murphy has piss poor, you know, grappling defense and not that great of a get-up game.
Yeah, man, I can't touch this fight. I can't touch this fight. I arbed out. I got my 0.11 units. I'm happy with that. And I know a lot of people that got on that -135 Murphy. And to be honest, I thought the line would move a little bit more, but no, Gabriel Santos is getting a lot of respect. Apparently, a lot of people are high on this guy. And after watching Santos, I see why. I was very impressed, to say the least. I think he does have some holes in his game. I still think he's a little green. He does give up position. He is hittable, but he's a dog. He has that dog in him for sure. So this is one where I'm just going to sit back, watch it, enjoy it. I think it's going to be a war. I think it's probably one of my favorite fights, if not my favorite fight on the prelims. I love this fight. But in terms of a betting perspective, I'm fine with passing at this point. Any thoughts on any props, any money lines, Weezy? What are you feeling?
You know, so neither one of these guys has ever lost. And our guy Lou Betya, he always says, if guys have never been finished, you really don't know how durable that they are. And it's risky to take guys with high finish rates against guys that have never been finished and bet those fight doesn't go to decisions, because both guys could be crazy durable and it winds up going the distance. So maybe, if you get a fat number on fight goes to decision, that's a good way to look at it. But Murphy's a good finisher. Santos is a good finisher. Santos is taking the fight on short notice. Could be an adrenaline dump. Could be jet lag. Could just be, completely off his game. There's a lot of things that could go wrong for Santos here, taking your, UFC debut on less than a week's notice, making a long-ass flight from Brazil to London. So, yeah, I do like Laurent the Miracle Murphy here. I mean, the guy has been shot 3 times in the head, Brady, and survived. This guy's still got shrapnel in his tongue.
Goodness.
Yeah. So, if a gun can't finish Laurent Murphy, it's probably a Murphy finish only prop. So pretty good way to look at this one.
Just like the Bugoy. Bugoy got stabbed like 1,000,000 times. Yeah, I like it.
Yep.
All right. Yeah, I'm probably staying off it unless something sticks out from a prop perspective, but really do like that fight. All right. We got Monk in the chat saying, sup, hoes and hoettes.
Let's go.
I like it. All right.
Yes.
We'll move on to the next fight. We have Muhammad Mokaev going against Jafel Filho. We got Mokaev, who is 22 years old, 5'7" with a 70-inch reach. Filho, 29 years old, 5'7" with a 68-inch reach. We got Mokaev 7 years younger, and Mokaev with a 2-inch reach advantage there. Mokaev 4-0-1 no contest in his last 5 fights. Made his debut against Cody Durden, got a first-round sub. Beat Charles Johnson by decision, and then submitted Malcolm Gordon in the 3rd round. We got Jafel Filho, who got I think it was a 3rd-round knockout win on the Contender Series. And I looked at the price tag, and then I was expecting Filho to be like some bum just because Mokaev is like minus like 900 to minus 1,000. But no, man, Filho is actually pretty solid. He has a lot of power on the feet. His striking is okay. His grappling is pretty good offensively. I have seen him taken down here or there, have seen him controlled. And, Mokaev probably goes out there and does exactly that. But I mean, what can you do here? Minus 1,000 on Mokaev. There's not much you really can do. And even like no props stick out. Mokaev, he's dangerous, but I'm kind of leaning more towards decision. I don't think this is like the Batista fight or like the Nickel fight where we know for a fact that Bo Nickel's going to go out there and sub Jamie Pickett. Mar Batista is going to go out there and finish Guido Canelli in the 1st round. I don't know if it's going to be that easy for this one. It's a stay away from me. I did bet on the Nickel fight. I bet on the Batista fight. I will not be betting on this fight. I don't think Filio's a bum, but Mokaev, I think is the real deal. I think he's going to be making massive improvements, but minus 1,000, I'm fine just staying away. Weezy, what are your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I mean, basically the same as yours, because this is a completely blown out line, and Filio's not a bum. He's a good fighter. This is a grappler versus grappler matchup, and these are exactly the kind of things that I like to target. One of my favorite bets last week was I bet Jonathan Martinez by decision because I said this is a striker versus striker matchup. Both guys are going to get the fight that they want. They're both good strikers. They're both good at range. I think it's going to be close. Well, this is a grappler versus grappler matchup. And when you watch the tape on Filho, this guy's ground game is really, really good. So Mokaev is going to have to mind his P's and Q's because he shouldn't want to keep this fight on the feet either. Because I like Mokaev striking. It's good. He's shown that he's good everywhere. He's a phenomenal prospect. He wouldn't be minus 1,000 if this guy wasn't the truth. And he's still only 22 years old. Extensive amateur career once again, where he was undefeated as a pro, cruising through really good competition. The way he blanketed Charles Johnson for the full 15 minutes was very impressive. Finishing Malcolm Gordon, finishing Cody Durden, finishing Blaine O'Driscoll. The guy is an absolutely phenomenal prospect who's averaging 8.88 takedowns per 15 minutes. He's out-controlling his opponents at a 6.8 to 1 ratio, and he's winning 87% of the control time positions that he's in. But he's got 0% takedown defense in his own right, and Malcolm Gordon had him in a pretty deep rear naked choke at the end of round 2. Jafel Filho is as good of a grappler as Malcolm Gordon is. Jafel Filho is a lot more experienced as a professional here. 6 more fights, 8 more years as a pro. This guy Filho comes from nothing. He was told by a coach, he said, I want to be, a professional mixed martial artist. And the coach told him, Jafel, you're too poor. You can't afford to live here and train here and pay the coaches. You'll never be a professional mixed martial artist. So he wound up quitting for 6 months before he chased his dream again. This guy comes from nothing. And now he's 14-2. And he's finished 13 of those 14 wins inside the distance. Got power on the feet. He's a good grappler. He's going to get a grappling match against the grappler here. And I think he's going to look a lot better than plus 600. So this is a dog or pass spot for me. Am I going to get to a Filho bet? Maybe. If this line keeps getting completely blown out, I'll throw a quarter unit on him just to have some action on the fight. But, I'm looking forward to this fight. This is going to be a fun fight. And it's going to be a good test for Mokaev against a really good grappler.
Yep. It should be a good one for sure. Yeah, I got to go Mokaev here, but minus 800. It looks like best price out there on Mokaev. And then Filho plus 550. And like I said, I don't really have much interest in the props. I kind of lean Mokaev by decision, but not going to sweat that one out. Yeah, I'm going to be staying away from this one, Weezy.
Yeah, I think it's a pretty good move, and I think I'll be probably doing the same thing. But I'm fired up to see Mokaev in his backyard in England, at home, fighting another guy from Brazil who's got to make a long-ass flight for his debut. And I think Mokaev was supposed to fight somebody else, right? Or was this the fight?
I don't even know, to be honest.
Okay, I'll take a look, but let's move on to the next one.
Yeah, it looks like no fight was canceled with Mokaev, so I guess this was the fight they made.
Okay, good, fun. Let's hope Filho's got something for him, and it makes it an exciting matchup.
Yep, I like it. All right, we'll keep moving on. Then we have Sam Patterson. It's not even loading.
It's not loading on my end either.
Where'd it go? Weird. Where is it at? Anyway, we got Sam Patterson going against. Is it Ashmoz?
Ashmoz, yeah, Yana Ashmoz.
Ashmoz. We got Sam Patterson, 26 years old, 6'3" with a 78-inch reach, and we got Ashmoz, who is 27 years old, 5'9". Yeah, should be a fun fight here, Weezy. We have Sam Patterson as a pretty big favorite. What are your thoughts on this one here?
Yeah, let's just keep up the advanced stats, because for some reason mine, I don't think I even put the matchup template here, but the matchup template's almost useless because neither of these guys has a UFC fight so far.
Yeah.
But Sam Patterson is the kind of fighter that I enjoy backing as a bettor. He's got an endless gas tank. He's very durable. He breaks people with pace and pressure. And he's really long and really tall for the weight class. And he's got a very slick submission game once the fight goes to the ground. He's got a killer guillotine choke. And he's got good power on the feet, too. As we saw him knock out former UFC veteran Felipe Silva in Brave. He fought a lot of really good competition over there in Brave, which is a solid regional scene promotion. So I'm really looking forward to seeing Sam Patterson make his debut. And he's going up against Yanal Ashmoz, that I just don't know much about this guy right now. He's got 6 fights. He's undefeated. And I think one of the opponents that he fought, Ryan Risco, which was in CFFC, is a guy who's 5-2 as a professional, and had some decent wins against Ferraris Golden Jr., Michael Murphy, Trent Stump. So he's fought some CFFC guys, and those are good regional scene competition guys. But I still have to watch the rest of the tape here. We've seen this guy, Ashmoz, like I say, he's undefeated at 6-0, and those wins are coming by way of, we've got 1 decision, we've got a guillotine choke, we've got 3 knockouts, and then there was a win on the Israeli regional that doesn't even show whether it's a knockout or a submission. So, the thing we have to worry here about for Ashmoz is that, the level of competition really isn't there. The only fight against what I could see was a guy who had ever beaten anybody was Ryan Risco in CFFC. outside of that, we don't really know much about this guy. And if he's fighting in Israel, that's a very poor regional scene. So, but he has been here. He was in the PFL Challenger Series, got a win over a 7-3 Dennis Hughes. But when you look at Dennis Hughes's wins, he's never beaten anybody that wasn't like 0-0 or even worse, like 0-6. Some guys, I think. The only legit win on the resume looks to be Ryan Risco. So, got to look into this one a little bit deeper. But I am a big fan of the archetype of fighter that Sam Patterson is. Long, lengthy, durable, tricky submission game, tons of volume and pressure on the feet, and the conditioning to push that pace for a full 3 rounds and not really break his opponents with one big shot, but break them with volume, pressure, and pace.
Yes, sir. Patterson opened up minus 250, currently minus 260. Ashmoz opened up plus 210 and currently sitting at plus 220. Yeah, I guess maybe like an under could be something to look at. Patterson, really good finish rate, finishing all but one of his wins. Ashmoz, same thing, 83% finish rate for him. Patterson finished in all of his losses, but outside of that, probably won't be touching the money line on Patterson. Maybe a decent parlay piece, but yeah, like you said, I got to look into Ashmoz a little bit more as well, watch some more of his fights. But yeah, Patterson, I think he's pretty solid.
Yeah, I really like Patterson. Definitely think he's a fantastic prospect. Like I said, the kind of fighter I like to bet on, but I've got to do my due diligence on Yanal Ashmoz before we know. And was Yanal wasn't the original opponent, right?
Let me take a look right now. It looks like it was. There's been only 3 fights canceled. Murphy Wood was canceled. Nelson Rodriguez was canceled. And then Duncan Figlak was canceled. Other than that.
Okay, so this was the opponent. So that's just bizarre. I don't know what did this kid do to get in here. He's 6-0. Yeah, he's beaten one decent CFFC guy, and then if he's from Israel, they're flying him from Israel to England. They couldn't find anyone else to fight Sam Patterson. I don't get that. I mean, maybe this kid's really good, Ashmoz. But I gotta do the tape.
Yeah, I feel that. All right, we'll move on to a fight. We have Chris Duncan going against Omar Morales. We got Chris Duncan, 29 years old, 5'10", with a 71-inch reach. Omar Morales, 37 years old, 5'11", with a 73-inch reach. We have Duncan going to be younger by 8 years. It's going to be Omar Morales with both a 1-inch height advantage and a 2-inch reach advantage. Chris Duncan is 4-1 in his last 5 fights. He's making his debut now. He had a Contender Series fight against Charlie Campbell where he got knocked down early on and then hurt, almost put out, and then he ended up knocking out Charlie Campbell shortly after that. Campbell kind of rushed in for the finish and he caught him. So yeah, good win there. Kind of scary for a little bit, but a good win nonetheless. Omar Morales is 2-3 in his last 5 fights. The decision win against Gabriel Benitez, a decision loss to Giga Chikadze, a decision win against Shane Young, a submission loss to Jonathan Pierce, and then a knockout loss to Uros Medic. Yeah, Morales getting up there in age, 37 years old at lightweight. The guy used to be a featherweight. I don't like either of these guys, to be honest. This is a straight pick 'em, and I totally get it. I think both these guys are not that great. Chris Duncan, man, I mean, he's tough. I like it, but he's so hittable, like a 42% strike and defense in that Contender Series fight. His hands are like all the way down, like down to his chest, and he just walks forward like a zombie. And he's been hurt before, not only in the Campbell fight, but I've seen him drop before, prior to that. So that's not good, but he's a tough guy. He's going to come forward. And then Omar Morales, just a guy that I've never really been high on, super low volume guy. Apparently he's a black belt in BJJ, but doesn't use it. I just really have no interest in this fight. In terms of picking a winner, I like the younger Chris Duncan, but his defensive tendencies give me some serious pause on laying any type of money on him. I mean, the guy just blocks punches with his face. So big giant pass for me, a fight that I'm not too interested in. But yeah, Duncan making his debut should be kind of fun here. Any thoughts on this one, Weezy?
Yeah, I mean, I think that the question we need to ask ourselves about this fight is how does Omar Morales deal with the pressure of Chris Duncan? Because when you watch the tape on Morales, he's one of these dudes that just kind of loves to sit in the center of the cage and you throw one and he throws one and, throws with a lot of power. But like you said, he's low volume. He doesn't do much. He's got 1 knockdown in 6 UFC fights. He lands as many strikes as he absorbs. He throws just a little bit more than his opponents do, but he's 33% accurate, and he's got good striking defense at 63%. But Morales has been knocked down 3 times, and he's only knocked his opponents down one time. And when you saw guys like Medic and Pierce pressuring him, now, of course, Chris Duncan isn't Jonathan Pierce,
No.
and he's not Uros Medic in terms of Uros Medic is a nasty striker with a lot of length and a lot of power. While Duncan's a little more meat and potatoes, but what Duncan does really well is rely on that chin, rely on that durability and that dog that he's got in him, and he marches forward and he can break you and bring you into a war. And I don't think Omar Morales wants to be in a war, dude. I think he wants to point fight at distance. I don't think he's going to get that fight here. But we got to be really careful because Morales has fought the much better brand of competition. Morales has actually gotten all 3 takedowns that he's ever went for. And even though Morales has attempted 3 takedowns at the UFC level, and Morales' opponents have attempted 18. So for every one takedown that Morales attempts, his opponents are attempting 6. But Morales is about even on control time with his opponents. So he's very efficient on the ground. When he gets taken down, he gets back up. And when he gets takedowns and can clinch control time, he's out controlling his opponents. So we don't really want to just sell out and say because Chris Duncan's 8 years younger, because he's only had 1 loss in his career, because he's been newer to the game and at a much different point in his career with the trajectory that he's at. I just don't see Omar Morales thriving in a war here. And I think Chris Duncan's probably going to break him at some point.
Well, it's going to be a war. It's definitely going to be a war. So, yeah, I mean, I do. If I have to make a pick, it's going to be Duncan, but I just want nothing to do with this fight. It's a straight pick 'em now. I would thought Morales was the favorite. Yeah, so Morales was minus 125. He went as low as minus 126, and now it's a pick 'em. Duncan minus 110 as well. Yeah, I'm just passing here. I don't think Duncan's that great, but I also don't think 37-year-old lightweight Morales, who's been finished back-to-back losses, has not looked good at all. So yeah, it's a pass for me. And I was maybe thinking like an under, like a fight doesn't go, but I don't know. Probably just going to stay away. Any thoughts on any props, any money lines, Weezy?
Yeah, well, we've got for these guys 4 combined pro losses, 3 of them inside the distance.
Yeah.
So they're neither one of them has shown a ton of durability yet. And like I said, I think Chris Duncan. I mean, have we seen Chris Duncan be in a point fighting contest yet? No. And I don't think it's going to start now in front of his home fans in England, fighting a dude from Venezuela who's probably not going to be very popular with the English fans on Saturday. So I think that this fight turns into a war, and probably the best way to play it is just to go with the violence, especially if it opens at 2.5.
Yes, I think so as well. Can't wait for those totals to drop. Typically, we'd see them by now for a nice pay-per-view card, but the bookies are taking the day off. They deserve it. They work hard, so they're taking Sunday off.
Yeah. Hey, we got to work harder than them. They're going to show up to work on Monday, and we're going to shave their asses when they put these lines out at bad prices. We're going to get them.
Yeah, they just better not put them out 8 in the morning. I hate when they do that.
Oh, I'm trying to. Then I'm going to miss it. I'm definitely going to miss it if they go off at 8 in the morning. Your Uncle Weezy's missing all the lines.
Yeah, I feel that. I try to wake up early as possible, but not waking up at 8. All right. I think this is the featured prelim, and yeah, what a fight this is. Jack Shore going against Makwan Amirkhani. We got Jack Shore, 28 years old, 5'8" with a 71-inch reach. Makwan Amirkhani, 34 years old, 5'10" with a 72-inch reach. We got Makwan 6 years older. Makwan with a 2-inch height advantage and a 1-inch reach advantage. We got Jack Shore is 4-1 in his last 5 fights. Sub win against Aaron Phillips. Decision win against Hunter Azure. Decision win against Ludovic Shalinian. A decision win against Tamir Valiev, and then a submission loss to Ricky Simone. As far as Makwan Amirkhani, he is 1-4 in his last 5 fights. Decision loss against Edson Barbosa. Decision loss to Camilla Kirk. A knockout loss against Lerone Murphy. A submission win against Mike Grundy, and then a knockout loss to Jonathan Pierce. Weezy, if this was a 1-round fight, I think Makwan would have a shot here, but it's a 3-round fight, and I can't pick him here. I can't pick Makwan really in any 3-round fight nowadays. He's just a round one fighter. He looks really good in round one most of the time. He'll win that round one most of the time. He'll finish fights in the first round a lot of times. But if that fight gets out of the first round, he's screwed. I mean, he has terrible cardio. So I might look at this from like a live bet standpoint. Like Jack Shore is one of the biggest favorites on the card, but maybe Makwan can have some success in the first round. Why not just live bet Jack Shore in the second? Maybe get a better price tag. That's how I'm going to be attacking this one. But yeah, it's Shore here for me. Just survive that first round, and you win the fight pretty easily. Makwan has shown that in most fights he doesn't really have much outside that first round. So yeah, Jack Shore, pretty easy pick here for me because I just don't see Makwan finishing Shore in the first round. Weezy, what are your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I mean, Makwan Amirkhani is a, wrestler with no conditioning. It's just such a bad, and it's a bad combination of skills, to have a bad gas tank, but really only be able to win minutes with your wrestling. So that's Makwan. And Makwan's 34 years old now. He's not getting any younger. And yeah, like his last fight, a couple fights ago against Laron Murphy, he looked great. He went out there, got takedown, did what he does best. And when he shot for that takedown in the second round, he ran right into a knee. But Jack Shore, the difference between Makwan and Amirkhani and Jack Shore is the takedown defense, because both guys are getting takedowns. Jack Shore getting 3.66 takedowns per 15 minutes. Makwan getting 4.15 takedowns per 15 minutes. But Makwan Amirkhani has 38% takedown defense. Jack Shore has 81% takedown defense. So both guys outcontrol their opponents. Jack Shore wins 68% of his control time positions. Makwan wins 60%. It's actually Makwan who's fought the better brand of competition overall. And actually, Makwan Amirkhani actually has the better wins, as Jack Shore just doesn't have impressive wins yet.
True.
At the UFC level. And that's a bit of a problem. The combined record of the 5 guys that Jack Shore has beaten at the UFC level, they've got a record of 5 wins and 10 losses. So, Makwan Amirkhani would actually be Jack Shore's best win. And now he's got to do it up a weight class at 145, because Jack Shore's been a bantamweight for his entire career. He's done making that weight cut, and now he's moving up to featherweight. And he's going to have to wrestle a guy who's been wrestling much bigger guys than what Jack Shore has been. But Jack Shore's judo is absolutely top-notch. He's going to have the way better conditioning here. He's going to have the way better striking here. I think that, what my favorite bet for this fight would be?
Yes, Jack Shore round 3.
That's a good one. But you know what else is going to be good at, because this line is so blown out?
Round 1 at Makwan?
Round 1 submission, Makwan. Because that front choke series that he has is legit. And look at his last 3 wins. First round submission versus Mike Grundy, anaconda choke. First round submission versus Danny Hendry, anaconda choke. And then a first round submission versus some other bum, anaconda choke. So this guy, that's the only way that he wins. Either that or the jump knee against Andy Ogle in the first 5 seconds. If Makwan doesn't catch you with the jump knee in the first 4 seconds, and if he doesn't catch you in an anaconda choke in round 1, you win. Yep. That's the breakdown.
That is true. That is true. JR is saying, how is Makwan going to be his best win? He was saying that Valiev's probably the best win. I probably agree with that. Then I was like, Valiev lost to Trevin Jones, but it happened. He got caught.
Yeah, Valiev's a good fighter, probably a better fighter than Makwan. But Valiev's a bantamweight.
I think he got cut too, didn't he? Valiev?
He did get cut. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because Valiev had that loss that got turned into a no contest because Trevin popped for weed. So that hurt, but either way, look, this is a tough road to hoe for Makwan Amirkhani. But yeah, if he wins, it's going to be first round submission, or he's going to get a knockout in the first 5 seconds with a jump knee.
Yeah, no other way. I like how John's taking it here. Sure, round 2 or 3. I don't think it's free money, but it is something I might be sprinkling depending on the odds. Maybe like a Shore round 2 or round 3 sprinkle. I remember I think I sprinkled the Pierce round 3, and Pierce got it done like late round 2 last time against Makwan. So I'll be sprinkling both the second and third there. But yeah, we have Jack Shore, second biggest favorite on the card, right behind Mokaev, sitting at minus 500. He opened at minus 350. And then Makwan opened up plus 285, currently plus 375. So, yeah, that's a lot of chalk for somebody making their debut up a weight class, but it's really hard to pick Makwan and Amirkhani in a 3-round fight.
Yeah, if this was, like you said, if it was a 1-round fight, but you know that it's scheduled for 3, huh? They didn't go 1 round with this one?
3 rounds, so.
Okay, 3 rounds. Yeah, then I'm on Shore.
Yes, I'm on Shore as well. All right, so we'll move on to the main card. If you guys have not already, be sure to smash that like button, crush it, just like Keith Peterson's crushing a couple packs of cigarettes while we speak here. But yeah, this main card is pretty fire, Weezy, especially since they took off that Luana Carolina Joanne Wood fight, and they replaced that fight with, by the way.
It was the Maia O'Neal fight, which is obviously, I mean, come on. I mean, if you're going to have a women's fight, can you imagine if they put Maia O'Neal on the early prelims, which is what they had said it was going to be, and they left Joanne Wood, Luana Carolina on the main card? You know, it should have just been then called UFC 286. Fuck you.
Yes, and I'm actually purchasing the pay-per-view this card. I'm having some friends come over. I'm having like a housewarming party, and I could not have probably stomached buying that card if Joanne Wood Carolina was on the main card. I mean, that's bad. That's bad.
Yeah, that really would have not been worth it. But yeah, this is a good main card. You know, fun fights a lot. A lot of these are just going to be fun. Vettori Dolidze is just so much fun.
Yep, I'm looking forward to it, man. We got Roman Dolidze going against Marvin Vettori. I got to watch what I say. I did receive a DM last time out from Mr. Dolidze. I'm not going to get into details, but I got to watch what I say here against the guy. Apparently, he's a fan of the show, Weezy, Roman Dolidze.
Yeah, man. Well, I'm a fan of Roman Dolidze.
Same.
These guys have been absolutely on fire lately, and he is getting a big step up in competition here in Marvin Vettori, and I can't wait to break it down.
Heck yeah, we got Vettori, 29 years old, 6 foot with a 74-inch reach. Dolidze, 34 years old, 6'2" with a 76-inch reach. Vettori, 5 years younger. Dolidze with a 2-inch height advantage and a 2-inch reach advantage. Marvin Vettori, 3-2 in his last 5 fights. A decision win against Jack Hermanson. A decision win against Kevin Holland. A decision loss against Israel Adesanya. A decision win against Paulo Costa. And a decision loss to Robert Whittaker. As far as Dolidze, somehow he lost to Officer Trevin Giles, which makes no sense whatsoever, but he did. He lost. He beat Loriana Staropoli by decision. He beat Kyle Dawkins by knockout, knocked out Phil Hawes, and then knocked out Jack Hermanson his last time up. Yeah, so I was looking to potentially bet Marvin Vettori once I saw this fight was announced. I was not expecting this money line, though. You know, there's a lot of hype on Dolidze, rightfully so. I think the guy's awesome. He's super dangerous. But I was not expecting to see Marvin Vettori around minus 300. Like, yes, I like Marvin Vettori in this matchup. I think it's a big step up in competition for Dolidze, but come on, we got to give Dolidze some respect. I mean, the guy's super dangerous, has a lot of power, obviously an incredible grappler. I mean, you see what he did to Jack Hermanson his last time out. But, I mean, I think it's a tough matchup for him. Marvin Vettori, high volume on the feet, really good cardio, and most importantly, just next level durable. I mean, you're not knocking out Marvin Vettori unless you bring a metal baseball bat or like a steel chair into the cage. And even if you do that, you're probably not knocking him out. On the flip side, you're not knocking out Dolidze either. So this is probably a good fight goes decision fight just because both these guys are like next level tough. I lean Vettori here, but you know, I'm not laying minus 300 on the guy. But yeah, Vettori is going to be the higher volume striker here. I think he's going to be able to keep this on the feet. And then if he wants to get takedowns, he absolutely can, just because Dolidze, he doesn't have any takedown defense. That's because he's comfortable off his back. So, yeah, I lean Vettori here, but the price tag, it kind of shocks me. It kind of shocks me. I thought more money would be on Dolidze here. Weezy, what are your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I agree with you there. I mean, but Dolidze is the older guy. It's surprising to see that Dolidze is 34 and Marvin is 29, right? Because we've just seen Marvin for so long fighting at a high level. But Dolidze is 2 inches taller. He's got a 2-inch reach advantage, and it's a southpaw versus orthodox matchup. Marvin a lot more experienced here. almost 200 more minutes in the pro cage, 12 more pro fights, 6 more UFC fights, 150 more minutes in the UFC cage. Roman, much more of a finisher, though. Marvin Vettori really isn't finishing fights at this level. Only 2 of his 9 wins inside the distance. And so 11 of Marvin Vettori's 13 fights at the UFC level have seen the scorecards. So that is a very interesting statistic here, because middleweight fights see the scorecards about 42% of the time. But Marvin Vettori's fights see the scorecards about 85% of the time. So like you said, man, fight goes to decision here. Because Vettori's not a finisher, and because they don't allow you to bring steel cages into steel chairs into the cage anymore, or hide foreign objects in your trunks like Cowboy Bob Orton used to, like they don't let you do that, They don't even let you put the Stinga on your glove, which is the little barbed wire that they used to, put over there to make the match more exciting. They don't let you do that anymore either. So I love fight goes to decision here, but man, I mean, at distance, this is going to be interesting, but Marvin definitely throws a lot more volume than Dolidze does on the feet. And then Marvin is, while both of these guys get their takedowns when they go for them, Marvin's got good takedown defense at about 74%. Roman Dolidze, 33% takedown defense. He's kind of happy to be on his back. But both of these guys are winning 80% of the control time positions that they're in. So they're both very good grapplers. They're both very good submission grapplers in addition to that. But it's Marvin. Marvin's just way more experienced. He throws a lot more volume on the feet, and he's fought the way better brand of competition. He's beaten the way better brand of competition. And we can tell by that 7-4 record in decisions in the UFC and that 8-6 record overall that the guy is definitely comfortable going to decisions and winning minutes, in order to get there. And Roman Dolidze is 2-1 in decisions in his career. And yeah, he lost a decision to Trevin Giles. So yeah, Vettori by decision might be the way to play this one if you can get it much better than -300. If you can get Vettori by decision close to evens, that's probably the way to play this. But goddamn, Roman Dolidze is so dangerous.
Yeah.
He's so dangerous, and if there's one guy that's going to find a path to finish this Vettori dude, it's going to be Dolidze, because he's got really, really interesting submission grappling, very, very high level ADCC competitors. So I'm looking forward to this fight, but like you said, it's a step up. I think Marvin's the much better minute winner in this matchup, but the moments are going to be very interesting to watch, because if Dolidze can find one, and if he can find a finish against this guy, my God, the run that he's on, as an underdog against Dawkins, as an underdog against Hawes, short notice against Hermanson. He's cashing all these tickets. If he cashes a plus 240 against Marvin Vettori here, my word, would that be something?
Yeah, man, he's a big dog. He's a very big dog. Like I said, this price tag surprises me. Vettori -300. Let's see what you're opening at. He opened actually at -275. Wow. So, yeah, the bookies opened up a pretty big favorite, and money's coming in on him as well. Dolidze opened up +235, currently +250. Some props I might be considering. Shout out to Lou Betcha, and then maybe bet would be like Vettori decision only. If you can get it better than the money line, I think that's a much better way to play him. It rolls out the Dolidze finish. Like if this fight goes to decision, I don't see Dolidze winning it. The finish only for Dolidze, which this is going to be at plus money because he's a big dog. I like that finish only for Dolidze. And then also like the overs and the fight goes to decision. So I think there's a couple different ways to play it, but those are some of the props I'm going to be looking out for here.
Yeah, I think that Dolidze finish only prop's a great way because he's such a big dog. But, they'll Bet Online will probably open it at -125. And then I'll throw my phone through my laptop and be like, hey, I'm going to need to call you up 7 times a day for you to check lines for me because my laptop's no longer working. Yeah, fun fight, though. Vettori Dolidze. This one's going to have the crowd going nuts, man. And it's going to be back and forth. I can't wait for this one.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. I think it's a really good way to kick off this card for sure, or the main card for sure. All right. Yeah, aren't these guys? Where is Vettori training? Do you know?
He's a King's MMA guy.
And then
So he trains over with Rafael Cordero over there at King's MMA, and then we've got for Dolidze, it's I believe Extreme Couture.
okay. That's what I thought. All right. So we'll move on to the next fight. Then we have Casey O'Neill going against Jennifer Maia. We got Casey O'Neill, 25 years old, 5'6" with a 69-inch reach. Jennifer Maia, 34 years old, 5'4" with a 64-inch reach. Casey O'Neill, 9 years younger. She's going to have a 2-inch height advantage and a 5-inch reach advantage. Casey O'Neill is 5-0 in her last 5 fights. She made her debut against Shanna Dobson, won that fight by knockout. She submitted Laura Procopio. Was that the fight where there was that was the Procopio situation?
Yeah, the where she completely gassed out after winning round 1.
Yeah, and she blamed it on her menstrual cycle or
yeah,
something?
that's correct. That's the one.
That's the one. So that happened. And then she beat Anthony Shevchenko by KO, and then she had a split decision against Roxanne Modafferi. Jennifer Maia, she is 2-3 in her last 5 fights. A decision loss to Valentina, a decision win against Jessica Ai, a decision loss to Chukagian Fioro, and a decision win against Marina Moroz. And I could have swore, did she have a fight or two outside the UFC as well recently?
Who, O'Neill?
No,
Maia?
Jennifer Maia.
No, I think Moroz was the last fight, right? I'd be surprised if she fought anywhere else.
I guess I'm thinking of someone else. Yeah, you're right. So, but it's been a while since we've seen Maia, right?
No, that Moroz, she cashed a plus money ticket against Moroz near the end of last year.
Huh. Oh.
She was like plus 150, I think, almost in that spot. And I remember being like, I should get on that. But Moroz had looked so good lately. Yeah. So yeah. Jennifer's been active.
Okay. I guess I'm fried or something. But but it's been a big layoff for Neil, though. That's for sure. I mean, when's the last time Neil's fought?
It's been a minute. That Modafferi fight was over a year ago, and if I'm not mistaken, she tore up her knee, didn't she?
She had something going on with her.
Yeah, knee. I think it was ACL surgery for Casey O'Neill. That's why we haven't seen her in a minute. But yeah, this is going to be an interesting one.
Yep, for sure. Yeah, what are your thoughts on this one, Weezy? This is one I got to look into a little bit more. But Casey O'Neill, lots of hype on her. People really excited about her. I'm excited about her. I don't know why. I thought Jennifer Maia was like 40, just due to the fact she's been fighting for so long. But no, she's only 34, which is kind of was interesting to me.
Yeah, 13-year career on Jennifer Maia. And I mean, like, even she made her debut. Like, her first 5 fights are against, like, you recognize the names. Jennifer Maia has been fighting top-notch competition for her entire career. So there's a lot of hype on Casey O'Neill. But, man, I mean, it was a close fight against Roxanne. That's not good. Roxanne was 4-9 in the UFC. And that wound up being way closer than it should have been. But Casey's really good. She's a good young prospect, still only 25 years old. And she's going to be 2 inches taller, and she's going to have a 5-inch reach advantage here. And she throws an absolute shit ton of volume. 25.23 distance strike attempts per minute spent at distance. And she's spending almost half of her fights at distance. So when fights are standing, Casey O'Neill is throwing 25 significant strike attempts per minute while her opponents are throwing 20, and she's landing 13.43 while her opponents are landing 7.8. So that is it's like a 5.63 significant strike differential at distance per minute. That is very, very impressive. But we do have to keep in mind that Casey O'Neill's last fight was against Roxanne Modafferi. And Modafferi couldn't hit water if she fell out of a boat. She can't see her own hand in front of her face. So she's very low volume and she's easy to hit. So Casey does her best work, though, with her grappling here. And I don't know if that's going to necessarily be on the menu against Jennifer Maia. Because Jennifer Maia is a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt who's very dangerous on the ground. And if you take Jennifer down, you might just be doing her a favor, because Jennifer is too lazy to take her opponents down, but she needs to kind of be on the ground in order to be doing her best work. So stylistically, Casey's going to be doing a lot more on the feet. Casey's going to be much more likely to wrestle here. And Casey's going to be much more likely to win the minutes. But Jennifer Maia does find ways to win moments on the feet. Not really to finish fights, but to maybe get things to her grappling. She can win moments on the ground as well with her submission grappling. And that's going to be something that Casey's going to have to watch out for here. I know that she's a juiced favorite, is Casey, but I don't think it's too much because Jennifer Maia, like we've said, she's fought everybody. Those last 5 fights against Shevchenko for the championship, Jessica Ai, Chukagian, Filho, Moroz, and then all those fighters beat everybody that Casey O'Neill has beaten. There's not one fighter in those 5 that loses to Modafferi, that loses to Antonina Shevchenko, that loses to Procopio, Shanna Dodson, or Christina Steliou, the pride of Greece. So, this is a big step up for Casey O'Neill, and Jennifer Maia keeps fights close. I'm going to be looking to see what that Jennifer Maia by decision prop is, because if it's better than plus 300 or something, I think it'll be worth a small poke.
Yeah, this fight's giving me a headache, to be honest. I mean, I do like Casey O'Neill here more than likely, just due to the fact that she's going to be able to dictate where this takes place. And we always say with Jennifer Maia, like, she's an incredible grappler. She's a legit black belt. She just doesn't go out there and grapple. So if this fight does hit the mat, it's probably because Casey O'Neill's taking it there. Yeah. And then on the feet, Casey O'Neill, her volume is very, very good. And I think that should be enough. But what scares me is the layoff, that injury, and the fact that, her wins are terrible. Roxanne Modafferi, she was retiring in that fight. Split decision win. Terrible win. Antonina Shevchenko, I don't know if she's cut, but she probably should be. Terrible win. Laura Procopio got cut. Shanna Dobson retired. So those wins don't really impress me. And then Jennifer Maia, when she's losing to Manon Fiorot, Caitlin Chukagian, Valentina Shevchenko, and Caitlin Chukagian again. So, I don't know. This one is probably one I'll stay away from. Minus 170, Casey O'Neill opened up minus 155. Jennifer Maia opened up plus 135, currently plus 145. So, stylistically, I like O'Neill to get the win, but this is going to be a big step up for O'Neill. And then it's going to be kind of a step down for Maia from some of the fighters she has fought in the past.
Yeah, and if Maia finds ways to win minutes on the feet, we could see Casey O'Neill a little bit lost in there because she might not want to take down Jennifer Maia. That might not be the best thing that she can do in this spot, because when Casey O'Neill is using that wrestling, we're seeing it against Steliou, no ground game. Dobson, no ground game. She subbed Laura Procopio, and Procopio has a ground game. Shevchenko, terrible ground game. Terrible. But Modafferi was winning minutes with the wrestling against Casey O'Neill. That's how she got to that split decision, was because she was winning some minutes on top there. It's very interesting, man. Because if Jennifer Maia goes out there and gets a takedown, ooh, boy, laying that juice on Casey O'Neill, you're gonna be very nervous about that. So I think I'm staying away from this one as well, dude.
Yep, I think I am staying away from it as well. But I like the fight. I think it's a really good fight. Looking forward to the return of Casey O'Neill, and I think it's the proper step up as well. So I like the fight as a fan. From a betting perspective, not so much. All right, 3 fights to go. We have Gunnar Nelson going against Bryan Barberena. We got Nelson, 34 years old, 5'11", 72-inch reach. We got Barberena, 33 years old, 6 foot with a 72-inch reach. Barberena 1 year younger, and Barberena with a 1-inch height advantage. Gunnar Nelson is 2-3 in his last 5 fights, a knockout loss against Santiago Ponzinibbio, submission win against Alex Oliveira, decision loss against Leon Edwards, decision loss against Gilbert Burns, and then a decision win against Takashi Sato after a pretty big layoff between the Burns fight and that fight. Barberena is 3-2 in his last 5 fights, a decision loss to Jason Witt, a decision win against Darian Weeks, a decision win against Matt Brown, a knockout win against Robbie Lawler, and then a submission win against Rafael Dos Anjos. So we have one of the biggest favorites on the card here in Gunnar Nelson. He looks like the 3rd biggest favorite on the card here. And I wouldn't be laying that chalk on him personally, but I get it. I mean, Bryan Barberena, there's a huge hole in his game that I don't like, and especially in this matchup, and that's the takedown defense. Like, it is bad, like very bad. 54% takedown defense from Barberena. And what's even more concerning is like some of the guys that's taking him down, like there's no shame in getting taken down and sub by RDA, but getting taken down like 6 times by Anthony Ivy it's inexcusable. Getting taken down several times by Jason Witt, getting knocked down by Jason Witt is just completely inexcusable. And Gunnar Nelson has solid wrestling and very good BJJ. So I'm not laying this price tag on Nelson, but to improve that price tag, I will be taking a look at the submission prop. I think if Gunnar Nelson wins this fight, it's going to be by sub. You know, Gunnar Nelson is not going to go out there and outstrike Bryan Barberena across 3 rounds. It's just not going to happen. So yeah, I like Nelson to get the takedowns here. Don't love the price tag, but I mean, the path is there. I mean, anybody can get down Bryan Barberena, and if Nelson gets you down, you're going to be in some trouble there. Weezy, how do you feel about this fight here?
Yeah, it's kind of lazy on my part, but I mean, it's so hard to cap this fight any other way than Gunnar shoots for takedowns, gets them, wins tons of minutes on the ground, and either submits this guy or just rides it out for 3 rounds. I mean, is Gunnar going to just willingly stand up with this guy? I don't think so, man. I mean, if you look at the distance striking numbers, there's probably nobody in the UFC, literally, that throws less volume at distance than Gunnar Nelson. Look at those numbers. This is over a 13-fight sample size that spans almost 142 minutes. And this guy throws less than 4 significant strike attempts per minute at distance. He's 1.82 out of 3.76 on the feet. 60% striking defense. He's got that karate style, does Gunnar Nelson. He switches stances constantly, and he's difficult to deal with on the feet. But, like, if he's not going out there trying to take down Barberena and getting that done, Barberena is going to win this fight on volume and power. I truly believe that. I mean, this guy is throwing an immense amount of volume at range. 15.78 significant strike attempts per minute at distance. He only has 11.77 coming back his way, and he's landing almost 7 distance strikes per minute. So if Gunny fucks around at all here and plays around on the feet, he's just fighting really stupidly. And Gunnar Nelson is spending about 45% of his time in control time positions, but here's the problem. He's not a great wrestler. He's getting the takedowns at a very high clip, 58.62%. That's phenomenal. 29 takedown attempts in 13 fights. That's not phenomenal. That's not the kind of commitment to wrestling that you want to see with Bryan Barberena as your opponent. I'd want to see 10 takedown attempts here from Gunnar Nelson. So that's the path, though, obviously, is that he's got to go out there and wrestle this guy. If he doesn't, if he fights a dumb game plan, if Bryan Barberena stuffs just a couple of takedowns and frustrates Gunnar Nelson, Bryan Barberena can absolutely win this fight. You know, I mean, if this turns into a war, I mean, I'm actually favoring Barberena just because of the volume, because of the toughness, because he has that dog in him. Now, Gunnar's only been finished once in his career. It was by Ponzinibbio. But it really is hard to see anything else happening other than Gunnar going out there, getting takedowns, and either subbing this dude or winning a ton of minutes in control time. Bryan is allowing 3.5 takedowns per 15 minutes, and he's been taken down 45 times in 16 fights and controlled about 27.5% of his UFC career. So I need to see Gunny get about 10 minutes of control time in this fight, because if he doesn't, it might be close.
Yeah, I mean, if this fight took place on the feet, it's Bryan Barberena all day, every day. It's just, man, that takedown defense is so bad. It's terrible. And one takedown, that could be the fight. I mean, Nelson's grappling is really good. His control's really good. But yeah, laying minus 450 on Gunnar Nelson, opened at minus 300. So yeah, money pouring in on Gunnar Nelson. If you lay minus 450 on Gunnar Nelson and he A, doesn't wrestle, or B, gets a couple takedowns stuffed, you are going to be throwing your TV out the window. I mean, that it's going to be bad if you lay that much chalk on him, and it doesn't. But I will not be doing that. I'll be looking at, I think, like Nelson by sub is the way I would play this to get that price tag down a little bit. Outside of that, it's probably dog or pass. I mean, minus 450 is a lot on Gunnar Nelson.
Yeah, and the bookies are going to be onto it, dude. I remember, I think I had Gunnar Nelson inside the distance or by sub in my greasy four-legger last time out when he fought Sato, and everybody was expecting Gunnar Nelson. Like, Gunnar Nelson either inside the distance or by sub was like minus 140.
Yeah, it was crazy. It was
you
crazy.
know, and I mean, why would it be any different this time against a guy with 54% takedown defense, against a guy who's been subbed once in the UFC, and again, you know, against a guy who's been taken on 45 times in 16 fights, you know, and just got subbed by Rafael dos Anjos the last time out. So, yeah, I'm picking Gunnar here, but man, the Barberena side, if Gunny fucks this up at all, Brady, man, it's gonna be so ugly. So yeah. I'm looking forward to this fight. It should be a really fun one. Striker versus grappler.
Yes, sir. Yeah, I'm not laying chalk on a sub prop. That is for sure. If it's chalk, it's an easy just stay away. But yep, should be a good one though. All right, co-main event. Speaking of should be a good fight, man. Look at this fight. Rafael Fiziev going against Justin Gaethje. We got Fiziev, who is 30 years old, 5'8" with a 71-inch reach. Gaethje, 34 years old, 5'11", 70-inch reach. Fiziev, 4 years younger. Gaethje with a 3-inch height advantage and a 1-inch reach disadvantage. Gaethje is 3-2 in his last 5 fights. Knockout win against Donald Cerrone. Knockout win against Tony Ferguson. Submission loss to Khabib. Decision win against Michael Chandler. Submission loss against Charles Oliveira. Rafael Fiziev is 5-0 in his last 5 fights. Decision win against Mark Diakese. Knockout win against Renato Moicano. Decision win against Bobby Green. And then back-to-back knockout wins against Brad Riddell and Rafael dos Anjos. Yeah, such a good fight here. This fight feels like it should be 5 rounds, doesn't it? I mean, this fight's incredible. I think it's going to be an all-out war. We have Fiziev, who's an incredible striker with power. We have Justin Gaethje, a very good striker with a ton of power in his own right. I think these guys are going to throw down. I don't see really anybody going for takedowns here. Justin Gaethje has attempted 1 takedown in 10 UFC fights. I don't see him trying to take down Fiziev. If he tries to, it's getting stuffed. Fiziev, incredible takedown defense. And I don't see Fiziev taking Gaethje down here. So I think these guys are going to strike. They're going to bang. Both guys have power. This has fight of the night written all over it. And Bootsy is liking the dog here and Gaethje, the big dog.
Yeah, dude, he thinks that Gaethje's being absolutely disrespected here. He thinks that they're calling him a bum based on his line, you know? And I mean, like, you look at those last 5 opponents, you know, Donald Cerrone, El Kukui, Khabib Nurmagomedov, Michael Chandler, and the champion Charles Oliveira, you know, while Fiziev's beating up on Diakese, Renato Moicano, Bobby Green, Brad Riddell, and then Rafi dos Anjos. So, yeah, man, you know, it's a step up in competition for Fiziev. And for a technical striker like Fiziev, a guy like Gaethje can be a real problem because he just doesn't seem to care if he gets hit. He just doesn't seem to care about anything but walking forward, trying to like remove the bottom half of your leg from the knee, you know, and marching forward, trading one to give one, and making his opponents extremely uncomfortable. Technical fighters get massacred against Justin Gaethje. Do you remember what he did to Edson Barbosa?
Killed him in the first round, right?
Very first round shot, no takedowns. And literally everybody that had beaten Barbosa up to that point had beaten him with grappling, right? And Justin Gaethje with the Division I wrestling background, we haven't seen him shoot a takedown since the Kevin Kroom fight, which was his debut, okay? Back in what would have been 11 and a half years ago. You know, this guy does have that wrestling background, but he doesn't care. He's better on the feet, and it's the style that he brings. He's seriously difficult to deal with. You don't get to just stand in front of Justin Gaethje and point fight with him. You know, he tries to kill your calf. He walks forward, and he makes you deal with pressure, and he's extremely durable. He's extremely game. I mean, Justin Gaethje is a guy who fights for your money and never looks overwhelmed until somebody gets him down and has got some grappling. That guy is not Fiziev. So I'm looking forward to this fight. There is going to be lost teeth. There's going to be blood flying into the 5th, 6th row of the stands. And this is going to be an all-out war. And I think Gaethje is going to make Fiziev very uncomfortable. And I think it's going to be one of the best fights of the year.
Yes. Yes, I think it's fight of the night all day. I think these guys are going to get after it. One interesting thing that sticks out to me, I mean, this feels like a fight that probably does end up being one of those wars that goes to decision. But 5 losses between these two, all 5 of them inside the distance. Fiziev knocked out in his own loss, and then Gaethje knocked out twice and sub twice. I wonder where they're going to put that over under at, but I'm thinking it might be juiced to the over potentially just because of these guys' toughness. But I don't know. Other than that, yeah, I can't lay this price tag on Fiziev. I'm with a lot of people in the chat here. He's getting a little bit disrespected. He actually opened at minus 275, believe it or not, Fiziev. He's currently minus 225. Gaethje opened up plus 235. He's currently plus 190. So some money coming in here on Justin Gaethje. And yeah, it's a pretty big step up in competition from, a 39, 40-year-old RDA, Brad Riddell, Bobby Green, Moicano, Diakese, and then going against Gaethje, who's been fighting, some of the top of the division for the last couple of years. So should be a really good test here for Fiziev. And again, I'm really looking forward to this fight. Weezy, anything sticking out from like a money line standpoint? Any thoughts on that Fiziev line minus 225 and Gaethje plus 190?
Yeah, I like Gaethje. I like the line on Gaethje. Plus 190 on Justin Gaethje is something that I do like, but I've really got to look into the stylistic components of this fight more because, you got to really see how much does Justin Gaethje pressure, because if he does pressure, that's going to be a problem for Fiziev, who does his best work at range. And I love the fact that Fiziev doesn't grapple so that Gaethje is going to get the fight that he wants. He's going to be landing those calf kicks. And he's going to be pressuring Rafael. But like I said, I've got to look into it more. I love the idea of Justin Gaethje at plus 190, though, against anybody. But I wish it were 5 rounds. If it was Gaethje at plus 190 in a 5-round fight, I think I would have already had units on that. But 3 rounds, man, I think Fiziev can handle the smoke for 3 rounds, and I think it's just going to be an amazing fight. I might be very happy to have no money on this and just sit back with my hands behind my head and watch one of the best fights of the year and just enjoy the violence that these 2 gentlemen are going to bring on Saturday.
Yeah, man, it's a crime that this is only 3 rounds, but maybe we don't need all 3. We'll see. But yeah, it's a crime. It should be a 5-round fight all day.
Yeah.
All right, main event time then. I'm actually more excited for this co-main event than I am for the main event, to be honest, but still a good main event. We have the trilogy, Kamaru Usman going against Leon Edwards. We got Edwards, 31 years old, 6'2" with a 74-inch reach. Kamaru Usman, 35 years old, 6 foot with a 76-inch reach. Leon Edwards, 4 years younger, 2-inch height advantage and a 2-inch reach disadvantage. Leon Edwards is 4-0-1 no contest in his last 5 fights. A decision win against Gunnar Nelson. Decision win against RDA, no contest against Bilal Muhammad, IPOK, decision win against Nate Diaz, and then a knockout win against Kamaru Usman. Kamaru Usman is 4-1 in his last 5 fights, a decision win against Jorge Masvidal, a knockout win against Gilbert Burns, a knockout win against Masvidal, a decision win against Colby Covington, and then a knockout loss against Leon Edwards. And yeah, went back and watched the second fight between these two. And Leon Edwards won the first round, being the first person to ever take down Kamaru Usman. So his takedown defense went from 100% to 97.22%. Still phenomenal, but that was impressive. But Kamaru Usman won the second, he won the third, he won the fourth, and then he was on his way to winning the 5th round. Leon Edwards did slow down as the fight went on. There was about less than a minute left. Leon Edwards lands a very nice head kick and pulls off the big upset there. I forget what the live line was at that moment, but Usman was like an incredibly big favorite at the moment. So yeah, great knockout shot by Edwards. There are some concerns with Usman at this point. He's getting up there in age, almost 36 years old. He has those knee problems. I think he had like a wrist injury or something. So those are some problems there. But after going back and watching that second fight, it's really hard not to favor Usman here. I think he should be the clear minute winner here in this fight. And unless Edwards lands another big shot and knocks him out, I think Usman should probably cruise here. But I don't know. I mean, I just have a bad feeling about this fight for some reason. I don't know if I want to go out there and lay like minus 250 or whatever on Kamaru Usman, because he is getting older. He has been dealing with his injuries. And I don't know. It's just a weird fight for me. But yeah, I do lean Usman. But I don't know if I'll get to a bet on this main event. Weezy, what are your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I mean, you broke down that second fight perfectly because Edwards won the first round. He outlanded Kamaru, got his back, took him down, and clearly won the first round. But then we just saw Kamaru do what Kamaru does. Over the next 15 minutes, the second, third, and the fourth round, he outlands him by 35 significant strikes. He gets 4 takedowns, and he outcontrols him 8.5 or 9 minutes to nothing. So that's when Kamaru does his best work. His striking is solid. He shows power on the feet. He throws more volume than his opponents at distance. He's 42% accurate, which is good. He's got 61.5% distance striking defense, which is very good. And he's outlanding his opponents by about 0.9 significant strikes per minute. Also very good. But the Kamaru Usman, the huge part of his game is the fact that he's landed 55 takedowns in 16 fights. He's getting those takedowns at a 48% clip. He averages 3 takedowns per 15 minutes while allowing 0.05. So he's getting about 60 takedowns almost. He's 55-1 is what he's out takedowning his opponents at. He's winning 94% of the control time positions that he's in, while Leon Edwards wins 51% of the control time positions that he's in. And Leon's getting taken down 1.58 times for 15 minutes. And, he gives up about 23% control time. So it's the control time. It's the wrestling of Kamaru Usman that makes everything else that he does even more dangerous. Whether it's the striking, whether it's the clinch game, the conditioning that he has to be able to push that pace. That's something that he's always brought, is fantastic conditioning. So he's really the complete package, but you always have to be worried when you see a guy that's Kamaru's age coming off a long winning streak, and then that one loss happens. And then all of a sudden it just falls apart like a Chinese motorcycle. Right? And I mean, we've seen it so many goddamn times, Brady. What just happened to Peter Yan?
Oh.
The guy lands one illegal knee, and then his career falls apart completely. 2 close losses to Aljamain Sterling and Sean O'Malley. A very close win against Corey Sandhagen. And then he goes out there and this guy, Dvalishvili's got a third lung that he's hiding somewhere in his body and is a cheat code. But you get that one loss at the wrong time, and especially at the age of 35, and it could just fall apart here. So I don't really know if I want to weigh that juice, because Edwards can find that moment just like Kamaru can find that moment. And we know that Kamaru can still win minutes with the wrestling, but where are his knees? Where is his desire at the age of almost 36, after having a 20-2 record, after, defending the belt a ton of times? Is he as motivated now that he lost it? There's a lot of questions that you really kind of feel like you want to have an answer for before you lay minus 200 on a guy who just lost to this opponent the last time out. There was no doubt about that knockout. So very interesting fight. I'm definitely still leaning Kamaru. I don't think Leon Edwards is this phenomenal all-around mixed martial artist. I think he's a good minute winner, but he's going up against a guy in Kamaru Usman who's been a master minute winner, and so I've got to still lean Kamaru here, but I'm very afraid that, like what happens for so many high-level mixed martial artists who reach the pinnacle of the sport, the second that you notice that chink in the armor, it's very hard to come back from it and be dominant again.
Yeah, I have a weird feeling about this fight. I feel like after Leon Edwards knocked out Kamaru Usman, I'm like, next time they fight, I'm going to be max betting Kamaru Usman at a much better price. But, after looking into it, thinking about it a little bit, I have a bad feel. Like, guys in the chat are making good points. Like, that Edwards Usman fight was at elevation. Like, we saw Edwards slow down a lot quicker than usual. Like, he was looking tired, like in the second, third round. This fight's not going to be at elevation. So, if Leon Edwards is fresh, like when he was fresh, he was having a lot of success against Kamaru. He even took the first round off of him. So, Kamaru's getting older. He was dealing with multiple injuries. The knees. He had like a wrist injury or something. Just have a bad feeling about this one. So I think I'm going to stay away from it. But after watching the second fight back, I still got to go with Usman here. Any props sticking out, Weezy? Like the fight doesn't go is plus 140. Like I don't hate like a shot on some violence here. I'm sure we'll talk about on probability tomorrow. Any thoughts on the money line? Usman minus 235 right now. Edwards plus 200. And then any thoughts on any props? We actually have props for this fight. This is the only fight where we have props, Weezy.
What's Usman by decision? Because Leon Edwards has never been finished.
Usman by only plus 100, which, I mean, it's getting the price tag a little bit better, but sweating 25 minutes, I don't know.
Kamaru Usman 10-0 in his career in decisions, so maybe that's the way to get the Kamaru Usman money line down to something that's a lot more bettable, to where, all right, if Kamaru does get a knockout, okay, I lose my 1 unit at plus 100, but Leon Edwards has never been knocked out. And I think, he's been dropped once in 15 fights and 542 significant strikes absorbed. He's been dropped once.
Oh, maybe like I was looking like maybe the decision only for Usman, but it's going to be something astronomical probably.
Yeah, probably. But with him being the favorite, it's you're going to be laying a lot of juice there.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, I mean, I probably won't have a bet on this main event, which it sucks not having a bet on the main event, the big fight, but I don't know. Just don't really want to put any money on this fight. But yeah, the pick's Usman for me, but I'm not running to the window to lay minus 235 on him. If he gets down to like minus 200, maybe, but I don't know. I'm probably going to stay away.
Yeah, God, I'm going to have to watch that most recent fight a couple of times, really take notes and figure out, where both of these guys are going to be getting better and getting worse at this point in both of their respective careers. But it's a very fascinating title matchup here, and let's see if Kamaru can get it back.
Yep. Jared in the chat asking what Edwards KO is. It is plus 500.
Ooh, interesting.
Yep, that's the KO for Edwards, and yeah, that's about all that sticks out. So, yep, nothing for me on the main event yet, and probably nothing throughout the week, but we'll see. All right, Weezy, we did it. We went through every single fight, longer show than usual, but we had a lot to talk about. I guess all that's left is letting the people know where they can find you and what your plans are for this week for some content for UFC 286.
Yeah, tomorrow night, MMA Engine YouTube channel, an hour later than normal because now we've been through daylight savings. We lost an hour of sleep last night, so keep an eye out for Probability on the MMA Engine YouTube channel, and we will give you a data-driven look at all of the time props on this card. And then Tuesday night, 10 o'clock Central Time on my channel, Uncle Weezy. I'll do Just the Tip with Uncle Weezy, break down all 14 of these fights from a stats and tape study perspective, give you my track bets, finish with Uncle Weezy's ass shaving of the week. And then from there on out, we got Pub Sports Radio DFS show. We got Pub Sports Radio watch along. Maybe some Ask Weezy this week for the pay-per-view. Really looking forward to a great week of talking fights, stacking cash tickets like flapjacks, and interacting with you guys, the MMA fans. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up button on your way out. Subscribe to Pub Sports Radio. We appreciate each and every one of you spending your Sunday night with us.
Yeah, we do appreciate all the likes, all the subscribes, a ton, guys. You can follow me on Twitter, DFS_numbers, Instagram, DFS by the numbers. I'll be posting a main event breakdown tomorrow for Usman Edwards, and then I'm going to be posting my full card breakdown. Should be out on Tuesday. I'm in the process of moving, and like the whole Wi-Fi thing is giving me issues. So to research fights, I have to drive to where I'm at now, and we have no Wi-Fi at the new house yet. So it's been kind of frustrating. So hoping for Tuesday, though, for that. And then, yeah, we have the DFS show Wednesday, Probability tomorrow, MMA Engine, and live streams Friday, Saturday, my channel. Got Best Bet coming up as well. So, yeah, lots of stuff this week for some content. Leave a like on your way out. Subscribe. Best of luck for UFC 286, and get some help. Alexander Romanov and Keith Peterson, you both need help. So go out there and get it. Best of luck, guys. Talk to you later.